You know, they redid my phone, you know how they update, and when they did, well, you can't just go in there and turn it off anymore.
Oh.
You know, it used to be you just push button and went off. Now you got it. It requires. You strong? You good? Okay, thank you. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and hold this meeting to order, the special meeting. The date is January 6th, 2026. It's approximately 1:34 p.m. Thank you everyone for being here. Happy 2026. We're looking forward to a year filled with blessings and prosperity for ourselves and for the city. So thank you everyone for being here and hope everyone had a memorable holiday. With that, I'm going to ask Commissioner Moore if you would please lead us in invocation. Stand if you are able.
Let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for allowing us to come together. We thank you for your grace and for your mercy. We thank you for how you have allowed each of us to see a brand new year. And we thank you for taking us through the last year, God. And we ask that you would make this year be a better year than ever before. We ask that you be with us, continue to give us knowledge, understanding, continue to give us peace, and continue to give us blessings that we might be able to do for others that are in need. And Father God, we ask that you continue to bless us, look on us, and help us to make the best decisions that would make people's lives better, and help us to do those things that will be pleasing in your sight. Father God, we ask that you bless the bereaved families on today, have mercy upon them, give them grace and understanding, knowing that you're too wise to make a mistake. Bless our families on today. Help us, oh God, and give us strength, knowledge, and understanding to be able to do thy will. We will forever praise you, we will forever magnify you and give you the highest praise. These blessings we do ask in thy Son Jesus' name. Amen.
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 And with that, the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Moore, you have been given the gift of words. Again, I really wish I had her on my watch clock. Yes, Commissioner DeVito.
Sure.
Before I do a roll call. I need to do a roll call. Can it wait? Sure. Okay, sure. Ms. Taylor, thank you today. Pam Taylor, she is our code enforcement officer, and she is stepping in and she is helping us get through our meetings. So thank you for your assistance, Pam. And if you'll do a roll call for us, please.
Commissioner DeVito,
Present.
William Lord,
Present.
Linda Moore,
Here.
Cynthia Burton,
Here.
Derek Martin,
Here.
Steve Coughlin,
Here.
and Campbell Taylor.
Okay. And myself, I am present. So thank you. Okay, Commissioner DeVito, you had something that you needed to say?
Yes, I have one announcement. This is new. The Fruitland Peninsula Historic Society is arranging for a presentation on the updated historic survey by Mr. Paul Weaver from St. Augustine, the one who prepared the survey along with Jenny Wolf.
Yeah.
That is scheduled for Tuesday, January the 20th at 5:30 p.m. at the Women's Club. And the commission and staff and the entire community is invited, and invitations will be going out.
Okay, so we'll make this announcement at Thursday's meeting as well. And we probably need to go ahead and make a public notice that there might be more than one commissioner.
Actually, more than one commissioner or more than one appointed official as well, because it's possible that
The board, yeah. So-
or even the tree
So
board.
just if you would notice whatever it is that we need to protect anybody from.
Thank you.
Great.
And when's the date for that
The
meeting?
20th at 5:30 p.m. at the Women's Club.
Thank you.
And then, Mayor, one more item, if we could take notice in the the prayer, Commissioner Moore noted bereaved families. This afternoon at 2 was the service for Robert Newbold, John Newbold's brother and J.R. Newbold, Commissioner J.R. Newbold's uncle. Was,
So our thoughts and
Right.
prayers are with them. I
Yes.
was just talking to Commissioner Mori. I just found out about 45 minutes ago, they were having the service today at 2. We also lost Mark. I don't know if any of you knew Mark Litton, but we lost him over the holidays as well. And his family is in, and, you know, as other families, you know, it's this is the time of the year that I don't know why, but it just seems like it's heavy on everyone's part at this time of the year. And so anyway, thank you for bringing that to our attention, and our thoughts and prayers go out to the entire Newbold family. So with that, I'm gonna ask the commission, if we can go ahead and move the presentation on the fire station to the front of the agenda, as in an essence of, everyone's time. That seems like that's gonna take the most time, and I know some of us might have some limitations, so if everyone is in agreement, is everyone in agreement with that?
Yes.
You good? Okay.
Well, if I can reshuffle my papers.
Sure, please do.
That's fine. I figured the chief was here because I saw the big.
Yeah, so please do. Okay, Derek, I'm gonna let you go ahead, and if you want to, start us off.
Yes, thank you. First and foremost, appreciate everybody being here. This is really important. This is an exciting time for Crescent City. Our team put together a really nice analysis on the properties that we had discussed in our last meeting. I've got a video that we're gonna play. Can you help me get this? It's up on the computer. I just need to get it up on the wall. Is it?
Captain, how are you doing? You got a little, sweet overload going on over there? He added some fruit in just to kind of make it a little.
Is it already hooked up to where?
Yeah, if one of these just warms up, you get it.
Because this is good. Here it is.
Is it plugged into the computer?
There we go.
There you go. Is it showing up on your screen and not there?
Yeah.
Click on the desktop, right click. And do the display preferences. Or, I'm sorry, yeah, right click, no.
I'm waiting. It's at the wheel right now.
You just need to right click, go to the monitors and say duplicate. Or mirror duplicate. I don't, Commissioner, if you don't do that. The duplicate, so that it'll show the same, was it mirror? Yeah, there.
Well,
There you
I've
go.
forgotten already. We need to do a slideshow.
Yeah. And now that's what you see on the screen there?
Yeah.
What's on your screen is what's up there.
That would be a moose.
Yes, that's on the main screen.
They're not very prevalent here in Florida. You never know when you might run into one. What is it? Is it an elk?
Oh, yeah.
Wide.
That's true, they have those fat ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's-
Yeah.
And you're bigger
That's
than
not, that's not bullwhip.
It's bullwhip.
Is it a PowerPoint? It's on the laptop? It's on a thumb drive.
Go down to
Did you
the
download?
folders at the bottom, or
Let's see.
there, that's what you need to be, is on.
There we go. Thank you so much for your patience, everybody. All right, we'll get this started. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we're going to be looking at our new fire station location analysis report. And this is going to be a comprehensive evaluation of the pros and cons for proposed fire station site locations. This is going to include metrics for safety, location, cost, accessibility, and our utilities assessment. This is put together by our location assessment team. myself, Derek Martin, City Manager, Chief Joseph Grazer, and Mr. Robert Taylor, as well as our Public Works Director, Keith Harris. Before we get started, I wanted to quickly touch on the basis of our metrics. This is an overview of the metrics decided by the Commission at our special meeting. The metrics put in place that we were looking at on this particular assessment are safety analysis, location benefits, cost considerations, and access and utilities. Slide was added for notes created by Mr. Robert Taylor, who is our architect and has worked on our design for the current plans that we have for our new fire station. He believes that there will always be a trade-off with traffic safety versus easy access if a new station is to be located anywhere on the summit. Traffic controls can be established by adding traffic lights to alert all of vehicles of incoming emergency vehicles. If a helipad is required, the landing pad size will be 150 by 150 approximately. That's 22,500 square feet, which is a little over a half an acre of land. That plays into the size and location of our fire station. Location benefits, some that he talked about is the high visibility may not be available unless additional properties are available to consider that are within the city limits. The biggest downside to reusing 201 North Summit is that we have to demo existing facilities while the new facilities are being constructed. That is our current fire station. We've had that discussion. The biggest downside to the wastewater treatment plant may be that the location is off the beaten path and may be hard to find. Talking about cost considerations quickly, when the city already owns the property, of course, one may feel that it is a significant advantage, but if the site is too small to accommodate required functions now or in the future, that site may not actually be as viable. Demolition costs may be considerable when removing lead-based paint or asbestos. Utility access can also be costly as well. Even if water and sewer is available, the adequacy of those services may be considered. If they're inadequate, services will have to be upgraded. And remember, the fire station has to be thoroughly sprinkled, and so we have to have pressure there. Consideration for stormwater retention, parking, and landscaping are also vital, and looking at sizes when we're talking about these properties. Florida Avenue, this is our old pick and save location at 106 North Summit Street. First up is our safety analysis overview. There were traffic safety concerns, emergency response risks, access difficulties, and high-speed traffic. Safety can definitely be an issue with being located right on Highway 17. With access coming in and out of that station, it can be difficult and dangerous with the high speed or high volume of traffic. It could lead to operational challenges for emergency vehicles. Highway location poses risk for rapid emergency response deployment and return. This was something that was discussed with our current Chief Razor. At the Florida Avenue old pick and save location, there are advantages and future considerations to take into effect. So the current central positioning, it meets the city's preference in centrally located, having a centrally located station. It's highly visible for the town and to have a presence. The fire apparatus is centrally positioned to reach the city proper very easily. Future growth challenges, though, as the city does grow, it needs to be further away. Current central location will become less optimal over time, and it may require additional stations as the city expands outward towards the south and west. In this cost analysis breakdown, I'm giving you the total acres at 0.58 acres. The market status is to be determined. They are working on doing a couple things there. The new owners, it's not particularly on the market right now. The estimated range for acquisition is approximately 100 to 140,000, and that final cost depends on negotiation and market conditions, and we do not have all of those answers at this time. On the development side, site work cost presents both advantages and challenges for development. Lower overall cost due to existing infrastructure availability is there, but the increased direct cost due to smaller property size and special construction is there as well. Site constraints may require specialized design solutions, which would increase the overall cost. Next is the accessibility assessment. This is an overview on the site access. This site is small with limited accessibility options that require careful design and consideration. The current access points, of course, can be utilized off of Highway 17 and Florida Avenue. Current access is from Highway 17 in Florida. We could utilize the same, but they would definitely have to be fortified for the truck. Design could accommodate the existing access configuration. There are design flexibilities and creative solutions needed for optimal utilization of that site. The operational limitations are, as said before, it's a small site. It restricts the development options. The site could not have a helicopter pad due to its size. The space constraints limit our emergency vehicle response capability as well. Limited area requires efficient layout and planning, and of course that increases our overall cost. Still on the old Pick and Save Florida Avenue property, the existing utility infrastructure assessment showed that we did have water service availability. Stormwater would definitely be a challenge. So would the sewer services, but we could provide the adequate wastewater management for the facility and the infrastructure limitations. Our water services should be available, but they probably would not meet the water pressure standard needed for sprinkling the system and would have to be upgraded. The stormwater would need design accounting for around 15% of total site availability. That's very challenging when you only have a little over half an acre in size for the infrastructure. That size poses limitations and issues for that stormwater management and may require specialized engineering underground solutions. Our sewer services are available at the location, and those would provide adequate wastewater management for the facility. All right, so this is for the Florida Avenue comprehensive pros and cons summary. So the key advantages meet the city's leadership preference for central visibility. The fire apparatus would be centrally located for easy access to the city proper. Lower site work costs due to existing infrastructure. Water sewer services would be available at the site again, but they would need to be updated and upgraded. The major challenges is the critical concerns, limitations that have to be addressed would be the safety issues with location right on Highway 17 with the high-speed traffic, the small site size at 0.58, which limits our development and operational capabilities, and cannot accommodate a helicopter pad due to the space constraints, and the stormwater management challenges due to the 15% site availability requirement. Up next, we have the old Hank Bustler Chevy dealership at 301 Lemon Avenue. Our safety analysis for 301 Lemon Avenue, which is the old Hank Bustler Chevy dealerships, are as follows. The safety concerns, again, you'll hear this from any of the properties that are along 17. The Highway 17 proximity creates significant traffic safety risk for the emergency vehicles entering and exiting. We do have a high speed rate of traffic and a high volume of traffic at some times of the year and some times of the day. There are mitigation potentials. Of course, proper design and traffic control measures could help address these safety concerns. And we have to look at the traffic conditions on 17 could impact our response times. So on this slide, we're going to be talking about the location advantage assessment. This is a centrally strategic positioned property. This is right in the center of town. It has an optimal coverage area. The fire apparatus will be positioned centrally, which enables efficient reach to all areas of the city proper with reduced response times. It's got high visibility. It's prominent Highway 17 location. It provides excellent community visibility and demonstrates municipal emergency preparedness commitment. And this, of course, meets the city's leadership preference as discussed earlier in meetings. Location aligns perfectly with municipal leaders' vision for centrally located and highly visible fire station. A cost analysis breakdown for the old Hank Bustler Chevy dealership location at 301 Avenue are as follows. The property acquisition cost, this is number one. It's around maybe $125,000 to $160,000 course, that depends on market conditions. It's not currently on the market, but there are infrastructure advantages, lower site work costs due to existing infrastructure availability, reducing the overall development timeline and expenses. But there are development constraints because of the size of the property. It would be a higher development cost, and that's per square foot due to smaller size at 1.21 acre property size, requiring more intensive design solutions. Demolition of the existing structure will also need to be completed, and this is something to talk about when it comes to cost. On our accessibility analysis, we found that this particular site at 301 Lemon had multiple access points, both on 17 and Lemon Street, providing multiple ingress and egress options. On our design flexibility, there is potential for accommodating access design solutions despite our constraints. This would be through some creative engineering approaches. The current limitations are that the present access is restricted to 17 only, creating an operational bottleneck for emergency vehicles. And this is because of the northbound access only. This, of course, can be changed, but we would have to work with the DOT. On the utility infrastructure assessment, we do have water and sewer. Stormwater would be a challenge, as discussed on previous slides. About 15% of this total site would have to be allocated, creating a pretty significant constraint and an increase in our overall cost to come up with a design solution that would work. The site is limited only to 1.21 acres being available, and of course that is potentially problematic for development. Both water and sewer, as discussed a second ago, are available. This would reduce overall infrastructure development costs, but the water line would most likely have to be updated and upgraded in order to meet pressure needs. It's our location assessment summary for this. There are key advantages, primary challenges, and some recommendations. Of course, some of the key advantages are that this property would align with municipal strategic planning. Existing infrastructure in place already reduces development costs, and this is centrally positioned and meets the city's leadership vision for excellent visibility and coverage. There are some challenges and safety concerns and site constraints require careful design. Being close to Highway 17 poses its own safety risk. It's limited site size constraints, development, and the stormwater requirements consume a significant space on this property, being at 1.21 acres being available. We would have to conduct traffic safety impact assessment, develop a comprehensive site design plan, and explore stormwater management alternatives, as our 15% stormwater requirement would eat up a lot of space on this property. Next property is at South Summit Street, Junction Road. This is the Irwin property analysis. Safety assessment analysis for the Irwin property is as follows. On the safety advantages, we have lower traffic volume on Junction than we do on 17, reduced vehicle speeds. This is safer fire apparatus for the fire apparatus, navigation, less congestion during emergency responses. The infrastructure needs we have, of course, is that we would need new signage installation, road marking updates, emergency vehicle preemption systems, and community awareness campaigns would definitely be required. There are some safety concerns. Signage installation would be required. Potential visibility issues would be a problem. Unfamiliar route for some residents, and an initial adjustment period would be needed. The traffic benefits, though, significantly lower traffic flow than the main highway. It would be easier for the emergency vehicle deployment, reducing our accident risk factors. On our location analysis, I've given you a legal description here and a photo that you can see on the star where this is located. This is just outside of town, the downtown district. It's within the city proper. It's 2.58 acres total in area availability. The location advantages for this is it's outside congested downtown area. Larger development space is available. Strategic positioning for the city. Wide coverage is also there. Room for future expansion and optimal design flexibility is also a location advantage for this location. The location drawbacks, though, It is further from the downtown core. It may increase response times to central business district, and it requires community adjustment to a new fire station location. On our cost analysis breakdown, we do have a purchase price for this property. The owner is asking around $400,000. It is a great location for a full-size gas station development in the future. That price reflects commercial potential, but it may also allow for negotiation for public safety use. The financial considerations, of course, this is higher than some of the alternatives we have already spoke about, but it does include 2.58 acres of land. The cost per acre is very competitive for commercial zone property within with development potential here in our city. I wanted to touch on the accessibility pros and cons. This is our assessment for that. There are some advantages. It's excellent strategic positioning directly across major transportation corridors and comprehensive city coverage capabilities. Its close proximity to 17 would give our fire apparatus a rapid highway response and mutual aid deployment. Central access allows efficient coverage for the entire city, and larger site footprint enables optimal apparatus bay design and vehicle maneuvering space. There are some accessibility challenges though. While offering excellent coverage, some operational logistic considerations require careful planning and mitigation strategies. It's an increased distance from downtown core that may impact the response times. The community education would be a huge part of this regarding new station location, emergency service delivery changes, and potential need for new traffic pattern adjustments and emergency road optimization planning would also have to be considered. On the Irwin property, we do have water service availability. We would need utility connections. Septic system would be required. Public Works can speak to that a little bit further. We do have a site size advantage, but the existing water infrastructure is already provided. This would eliminate a major connection cost and reducing development timeline. I believe that we have enough pressure down there. I'll let Public Works speak to that. The utility connections, we would definitely need electrical and communication tie-ins as required. Sewer main and force main connection is possible, but requires a cost analysis and feasibility assessment. Additional costs needed would be for septic system installation. I don't think that the sewer connection would be immediately available. This would increase our initial infrastructure investment. We do have 2.58 acres available. It's ample space for optimal fire station design, our apparatus storage, training areas, and future expansion capabilities. The overall assessment is 2.58 acres. It's around $400,000. You have access to Highway 17 and water is available. There are some key advantages, of course, with the size. There are some concerns which have to do with the cost and, of course, infrastructure costs and purchase of the property. But there are some other things that can be done. Recommendations is, the property offers significant operational advantages that may justify the higher initial cost, though improving long-term functionality. Cost per acre is competitive for commercial property. Future expansion potential maximizes the investment that we're making, and optimal design capabilities enhance our operational efficiency. On this property, it being larger, being a different location, we wanted to give you all our strategic decision matrix, of course, strengths, threats, weaknesses, opportunities. But one thing to consider is that we don't even know if this property owner would be willing to sell the property. This is just a property that we have discussed in-house. Nobody has contacted the owner directly from my office. I have not spoken to the owner directly myself. I believe that some staff have in passing, but there has been no rock solid discussions on if this site is even available. Again, strengths, large area, threats, budget constraints, weaknesses, higher purchase price for this property, but the opportunities in this property for future expansion potential, improved operational efficiency, community growth, accommodation are very big, and that's what we looked at this property for. On the next slide, we're going to be discussing our existing fire station and the analysis that was given to that. Our existing fire station, property overview, current status. This is something that we already have worked on, some design plans. There are some great factors and some limitations as well for this property. Our property size, combined parcels are around almost an acre at 0.99 acres, providing adequate space for current operations, potential expansion. We are strategically located with that particular office. Space and fire apparatus is centrally positioned with access to Highway 17 at Eucalyptus Avenue and Main Street for optimal coverage. The ownership status, of course, that is currently owned by Crescent City, eliminating any acquisition costs for future development projects. Are some key advantages of our current location. Again, speaking to cost, zero acquisition cost. It is located within the boundaries of optimal response coverage within the city. Highly visible location enhances our community awareness and presence, and our fire apparatus can reach all of the city areas efficiently and quickly. The cost advantages, there are significant benefits from owning or being an existing owner of this property. Zero land acquisition costs due to current city. The development cost is limited to improvement and expansion needs only. The existing operational infrastructure reduces startup and transition expenses, and the accessibility benefits for this are, of course, there's 3 access routes, but there's multiple access points providing flexibility for emergency response and operational efficiency improvements. There's multiple potential access points from 17 corridor. The secondary access via Eucalyptus and its proximity to Main Street as well are all benefits to the accessibility. This is currently in 24/7 operations for the city, and also we house a unit for the county as well. For the existing fire station, there are critical challenges and safety concerns. There are traffic safety issues with high speed on 17. There's poor visibility and signage. The current Highway 17 access lacks proper signage, creating identification and wayfinding challenges for emergency operations. There's inefficient lighting infrastructure, lack of dedicated lighting for the fire station, and apparatus creates visibility and safety hazards. And the water pressure deficiencies are huge on this. This is where a lot of the cost comes in. For infrastructure, the current water infrastructure does not provide adequate pressure required for the station and its response needs. On the last slide, we discussed the water system limitations. And again, speaking to that, their water pressure is inefficient for this station. A new water line installation would be required. I believe we already have a cost on that. And as time goes on, of course, costs increase. This is significantly increasing the site development costs and complexity of the design. The infrastructure work needed before the facility improvements can be implemented would be vast. Stormwater, this is another issue for this property because of the size. Stormwater regulations impose significant constraints on site development and utilization of the available property. 15% of this site has to be dedicated to stormwater management, and the stormwater requirements reduce usable development area for fire station expansion. The compliance cost adds to overall site development and improvement budget costs. The existing fire station does have operational advantages, of course, and it also has safety concerns I've discussed on previous slides. Critical safety risk, again, being on Highway 17 creates some dangerous conditions for apparatuses entering and exiting the highway. Inadequate lighting increases accident risk during nighttime and emergency response operations. Poor signage and visibility from highway creates navigation and identification challenges. The operational benefits, however, it is centrally located, and response times to all areas and neighborhoods of the city is reduced. Its highly visible presence enhances our community confidence. Multiple potential access routes provide operational flexibility and emergency response options. The existing fire station, this is our cost analysis for that and the financial implications. On that financial assessment, while land acquisition costs are eliminated due to the city's ownership, significant infrastructure investments are still required for water, storm water, safety improvements to meet operational standards as well, lighting and signage. Zero acquisition costs. This is a huge major advantage due to the existing ownership. Water infrastructure is going to be the highest cost, requiring new water line and pressure systems, and safety improvements, including lighting, traffic management upgrades, are needed for operational excellence. This is our balance assessment overview, the comprehensive pros and cons. We've already discussed most of these. I won't go into too much detail on them. The key advantages here is that there's zero land acquisition cost. It's optimally located. Major challenges, of course, being on Highway 17, poor visibility conditions, lighting, inadequate water pressure coming into our system here, stormwater requirements. The infrastructure would definitely have to need substantial water and lighting improvements, access solutions, and development cost only is going to be what's regarded to this property and what's regarded as the worst impact. But again, not having to purchase any land is a big pro here. This is our fire station analysis for the wastewater treatment plant. This is off of Junction and Old Highway 17. The property at the wastewater treatment plant, of course, availability is 5 acres. This is an open piece of property at the corner of Highway 17 and Junction. This fire station location presents definitely opportunities, but also challenges for our municipal emergency services. The property size, again, 5 acres of land. It's the largest available site among all of our options, providing ample space for anything and everything we want to do, and an expansion for the future, training facilities, and potential helicopter landing pad. The current status it is city-owned with existing infrastructure, water and sewer, reducing our initial acquisition costs and streamlining development timeline for a new fire station. In our wastewater treatment plant, located at Old Highway 17 and Junction, this is our safety assessment analysis. There are safety advantages, route optimization, safety considerations, traffic speed benefits for this particular property. The traffic on Junction, and of course the volume, would be less or lower than Highway 17, providing a more safer emergency vehicle egress and reduced collision risk during response calls. Strategic positioning allows for safer response while maintaining adequate access to serve the community. But there are safety considerations. New signage installation would be required to alert motorists of vehicles in and out activity, improving the visibility for the apparatus movement. Traffic speed benefits, vehicles on Junction Road, and again, they're significantly lower than 17. We would have to work in conjunction with the DOT though for entering and exiting Highway 17 as the topography of the road and angle of the road would not be conducive to safe entering and exiting with vehicles traveling northbound into our city. So we would have to have special lighting and signage for vehicles to know that we're coming in and out of that area. On this particular property for the wastewater treatment plant, this is our location analysis, strategic positioning. The current location challenges is that it does not meet the city's leadership's preference for centrally located downtown location. There is reduced visibility compared to our main thoroughfare positioning options. Location is outside of the primary downtown business and residential districts. However, there is future growth potential. As the city expands, this location may become more strategically positioned in the next 10, 15 years. Property could serve growing suburban and outlying residential areas and agriculture areas that are now vacant. Long-term planning may favor this position for comprehensive coverage in the future. On the wastewater treatment plant, this is our cost analysis, our financial considerations. Of course, we have zero property acquisition. The cost advantages to that is that we would only be looking at our development costs. No purchase price would be required. This would reduce our project timeline due to our ownership status. The development cost, this is to be determined. Investment still needed and site preparation is needed for this. Construction, utility, infrastructure would need to still meet the fire station operational needs. This is something that would need to be upgraded. Of course, utilities, water, and sewer, or force main in this sense, would need to be included in our costs. Those costs are unknown at this time. The infrastructure upgrades, those are unknown. Several factors require further assessment, engineering, evaluation, to determine accurate budget projections for this. So I could not put a dollar figure to it. We could extrapolate and take dollars per square foot and do that. But again, if this is a property that is decided on, we could do that at a later time. Every property is going to have construction costs included. This one, of course, has its pros and its cons due to its location, its size, and availability for water and sewer. At our 5-acre wastewater treatment plant property, we have multiple access routes. This site offers exceptional accessibility for potential access from Highway 17, from Old Highway 17, and also from Junction Road. We would need additional signage for proper identification and safety. The expanded capabilities as being the largest available site out of all of them that we've looked at, the property provides sufficient space for a helicopter landing pad, enhancing our emergency medical services and disaster response capabilities. The generous frontage allows for optimal emergency vehicle positioning and maneuvering as well. On our wastewater treatment plant existing utility infrastructure assessment, of course, we have current utility status providing for that property, providing sewer and water services, offering a good foundation for our fire station development. However, there are several critical infrastructure components that would require further evaluation and potential upgrades to meet the emergency service operational requirements. This would have to do, again, with the water system, with adequate pressure. This would have to do with the sewer service, and finding exactly what is available and whether we are going to be doing a pressured main, force main, or tying into gravity system. Stormwater management is also very important. The stormwater management system is going to require installation with costs that are currently unknown, and engineering assessment would still need to be determined in order for proper solutions to be designed and engineered. But again, it's on a 5-acre development. The wastewater treatment plant, our comprehensive pros and cons summary are as followed. On the overall assessment, while the location preferences and infrastructure unknowns pose considerations, the city ownership and site size offer significant benefits for emergency services expansion. The key advantage, again, we own the property. It is the largest out of all. It will allow us to encompass a helicopter pad. You have lower traffic on the main ingress and egress locations. The problem is that it's outside of our downtown district, lacking our central visibility. We have a danger going in and out of 17 that would need to be discussed with the DOT, use signage, flashers, and a campaign awareness for people to know that the emergency vehicles are entering and exiting that highway. We have unknown infrastructure costs for water pressure and the stormwater management, but this site does offer potential for city growth that may improve over time the desirability of that specific location. And I just want to take this time to thank Mr. Robert Taylor, thank our Public Works Director, Keith Harris, thank our Fire Chief, Joe Razor, for helping out and putting this together, and leave this with you all. The ideal location balances our operational effectiveness with community harmony and fiscal responsibility. That's what we should be looking at. I appreciate everybody taking the time to listen and watch this video, and hope that you all can use this to make a good decision. Thank you for your time today. This concludes our slides.
Everybody still awake?
Oh, yeah. We're not allowed to speak anymore for the next couple of hours.
I did not. You got it.
We're done with listening to. Commission, at this time, let's go ahead and open it up for any questions. We've got everybody here, so we've got several sites that we can consider. Let's go into our discussion. So who wants to start off? Commissioner Burton, do you want to start, or do you want me to start on the other end?
I can start. I've said this right along as far as where we're gonna put this thing. I do not necessarily want to pay for another piece of property. Basically, you take that piece of property out of our tax.
Off the tax rolls.
Off the tax rolls. I just don't think that that's necessarily a good idea. And I don't really see any that, although they suit the visibility, I think even our present, site when you start talking about, well, you know, it's dangerous and this and that and the other, I mean, the one that's kind of outside, that you're talking about off of Junction, because you're coming up the
Yeah,
hill.
put your microphone down, please.
Because you're coming up the hill, on 17, it could be a problem, and we're gonna have FDOT do something so that they know that there's gonna be something coming out of Junction Road, you know, but everything needs that really. I mean, we need that now at Eucalyptus. I mean, after all, we come out, we make a left-hand turn on Eucalyptus, then we can make a right-hand turn on 17, or we go through 17 to make a left-hand turn. All the ways to get on 17 are somewhat, could be dangerous, you know? So I mean, I think that that's a cost, and that's something that we're gonna have to work with FDOT no matter where this is put. But I like the idea that the pad, the helicopter pad, isn't there another one that's gonna?
We already have one in place, and they don't have any intentions of doing away with it at this time. It's down at the, treatment center.
So what my question would be, besides, you know, our ice people using it to land their, you know? But anyway, I mean, what would that purpose be for us to have the pad?
If I could speak
I
on
like
that.
the idea that we can have that.
Pull your mic down if you would, please.
Sure.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah, Chief Razor, Crescent City Fire Department. If I can speak on that a little bit, we currently have a helipad in the south, and the problem is it's at the rehab center.
Yes.
The problem we're currently running into, and my coworkers can vouch, is the rehab center has a gate out front that's a security area. We have recently had multiple issues accessing the helipad. They control the helipad. If there's something out there, we can't confirm if it's clear, we can't confirm if they're doing construction, we can't get to it because the gates are closed and locked. So the ideal behind this was we will have our own helipad used for several reasons. One, I've been in talk with several flight crews, and they have pointed out that this area is in need of somewhere safe beyond a privately owned helipad that they can see and use. So it would come in handy for EMS transports, it would come in handy for law enforcement to sit down and deploy or do whatever. And then for emergency services, I've also been in talks with Coast Guard, just because they want to do trainings and they want to make sure they have a helipad that's accessible. The current helipad is there, we are able to use it, but it requires phone calls, confirmations,
So it's
gate access
limited.
codes, correct. It creates a problem.
That's what I needed to know, I mean.
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
But I mean, you know, that's all the questions or all I want to start with.
Okay. Commissioner Moore?
Get me go to someone.
Okay. Commissioner Ward?
Can I ask you some questions about
Yeah.
utilities? Keith?
Mr. Harris?
Thank you there. Sorry, I know those are comfortable chairs. In the slides we talked there was mention about like the urban property on the corner. Why would we put in a septic system? I mean, it's right around the corner from the.
We really wouldn't have to put in a septic system, we can go with a lift station, and we do have an 8-inch force main there,
Okay.
so it would have to be and same thing with the city property, it's gonna
Right.
be the same thing, it's gonna be a lift station.
Okay, but that, because I mean, the lines must run fairly close through there, right?
Right. And there is an 8-inch water main on Irwin's property. Like I said, nobody knows if he wants to sell it, last I knew it, he didn't. And,
I'm not really leaning to that, but I just wanted the clarification on those utility issues. And with the, talking about our existing fire station, won't the upgrade of Main Street, is that not going to?
it's fixing this, well, as soon as we
Right.
choose a contractor, I think we're still up in the air on that.
Okay, but I mean, but that would hopefully fix some of their water pressure
Yeah.
concerns.
Yeah, because they're gonna start here at Central and go that way.
Okay, that's the other question, because I understand there's a problem now, but I would hope that would be fixing it. And then I think there was, and so in the wastewater treatment plant property, you said we could just tie into that, and there's a water main that's out there?
Yeah, but it's a 6-inch, but the 8-inch runs up to it, and then the 8 ties into the 6.
Okay, so we might be able to upsize that or something if we need to. Okay, Well, that answers my question, thank you.
Commissioner DeVito? Go away, Pete.
Yes, thanks. Well, actually, some of my questions are for the whole team. Just on the site evaluations, I was very unclear about why the US 17 in-town locations, the Current Avenue, the Old Pick and Save property, the Lemon Street, the Bustler property, those are described as being in high-speed traffic. The speed limit's 35. And okay, just hear me out. The speed limit is 35. At the Irwin property, the speed limit goes up to 45. And as Commissioner Burton has pointed out, the traffic coming up the hill has a huge blind spot. Also at Junction and 17, I mean, what y'all have put in this analysis does completely conflicts with what I see and what we've been told by Public Works in the past and what I see in other cities. That intersection of Junction and 17 is where a lot of accidents occur, serious accidents. It's not a good intersection. And in fact, when we had the closure of Pine Street, the Public Works Department, as I remember, isn't this right, Keith? Sorry, they did not particularly want to be cut off from coming down North Main Street, having to go out on Junction Road, because it meant they had to turn out on 17, and they did not care for that. Wasn't that the situation we had?
Kind of, but we blocked Pine Street off because of the people speeding.
Yeah, I know.
And now we-
DeVito, if I could piggyback on that a little bit, if you give me, let me just.
Could I just,
Yes.
So, every, just that whole safety assessment, I just don't really understand. And particularly when I go to other cities in Florida or in other areas of the country, Thomasville Road in Tallahassee, there's a fire station there, that's 45 miles an hour. Palm Bay Road in Palm Bay, where my in-laws live, that's 45 miles an hour. I mean, and I honestly, so I don't quite get that. And I can see 17 from my house. So I don't see that you have to get on 17 to go almost anywhere. So to me, that safety assessment, either y'all need to explain to me why 35 miles an hour in town where people are expecting ingress and egress is somehow less safe than south of town where, quite frankly, it's the same traffic.
Commissioner,
Anyway, so sorry, Mayor, I just
So
wanted
I'm
to.
gonna piggyback, so that you can all answer this at the same time, because right now you've got two commissioners, and plus I'm gonna add to that, that I mentioned to someone earlier today, that as you go through town, the crosses on the side of the road are just past that intersection. That's probably our, in my opinion, one of our most dangerous intersections that we have coming onto 17, even taken away from 308, at least we have a caution light. And when we closed down Pine Street, I got phone calls from residents who were very upset because they felt unsafe pulling out onto 17 there, and that Pine Street, they went down Pine Street and came out Reed Street in order to get onto 17. So I am gonna piggyback with you on that. And also, we have no guarantees that Old 17, what the county is gonna do. There has been, I know all of you know, there's been some discussion that them stopping it down possibly at Clifton. No determination, but there has been that discussion. That's a very narrow junction, is also a very narrow road, as is Old 17. So you're gonna have that apparatus going up and down. So I just wanted to piggyback with that, with the safety issue that you were on.
Can I follow up with something?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if this
I'm
intersection,
gonna get back to you.
I want to get an answer.
Well, that's what we're trying to do.
if this intersection has been so bad, why have we not fixed it? It needs to be fixed, whether we put the fire station there or not. Don't you think?
Well, Yeah, we could, except for that's DOT, again, dealing with DOT.
If I could add to that.
Go ahead, chief, if you would.
Yes, ma'am. If I can go back to Commissioner Lori, when you were asking about the current state, if I can just add one little thing, keep in mind if we reconstruct there, we'll have to house the current fire department somewhere else. Here to Commissioner Vito's question, so the way it's written as high speed, and I understand it's fairly low speed, the issue is the locations on 17 are smaller. So the only option we have as a fire department is we will have to pull past our station, block 2 lanes of traffic, and then back into the fire station. The station, the depths, so our fire trucks require somewhere between 47 and 60 feet of turning radius. So there's no way to turn them around. So with that being said, like the location off the junction is a single road, we come out, we have a single lane of traffic we cross, we have a single intersection come through. Emergency lights, I agree, the intersection should be fixed, I agree, it's a dangerous intersection, it's something that has been in place long before we started looking at this process. Though, like I said, the major concern is we're now in double lane of traffic, stopping, turning into blocking lanes of traffic. If someone's not paying attention, there's a side impact injury, then we're backing across the sidewalk to get into our building, so it creates multiple problems.
Could I just follow up on that?
Absolutely.
So how do you currently get into the existing station?
Depends on what apparatus we drive. Currently, if we're driving larger apparatus, we actually have to pass the station, turn around, come back, drive through the parking lot, and then back into the station.
Okay.
Also, depending on who's driving, myself and Captain Leclerc have got years of experience, we can pull down, you can lift this into the parking lot across the street and back up. But it's still a single lane of traffic that we're blocking at a low speed, not Highway 17. Right. So we're just blocking the lift this and backing it. So if
Okay.
our parking lot is full, depending on apparatus, it creates an issue. We gotta then Austin powers our vehicles into the station.
Okay, so it's my understanding there are 2 in-town locations that have side streets.
Correct.
Okay, but those side streets don't have adjacent parking lots that you can also use, is that what you're saying?
So again, depending on which location you're talking about, the station will set where the side street will be on the side. The entrance and exit of that side street will go directly onto 17. The way the land is laid out, it's not wide enough to turn the station the opposite direction. Even if we did, we would still have to pull past the station and back into it. What we're trying to do is create a fire station with drive-through bays to prevent backing, to prevent accidents, to prevent blocking the streets. That's the idea of the larger lots. The smaller
Okay,
lots.
well, I have to say now, hang on here, when I lived on Davis Boulevard in Tampa on Davis Island, which was, that fire station served the airport, and they responded to, plane crashes where aircraft went up in flames, and they also responded to Tampa General to some extent. I do remember them blocking lanes of traffic
Correct.
to get in and out.
Correct.
But, and that was, I don't know, it was never, of all the traffic problems that we had, that was never raised. I'm just saying, and I served on a community planning agency. So anyway,
The difference, if I can, the difference is they're a paid department with multiple personnel on the apparatus.
Right.
The issue that we have, like today, if I'm not here, Captain Leclerc is alone. He has no way to have a spotter, a backer, there's nowhere to help stop traffic. He has to maneuver that apparatus on his own and back into the station while stopping traffic and sidewalk traffic and everything in between by himself. At nighttime, that becomes difficult, especially on Highway 17.
okay, the detail is very important, so that is very helpful.
Yes, ma'am.
The one, okay. The main concern I have, and this is for the city manager, not necessarily for you, is that, I am very heartened that we have documentation on paper and that there's an analysis on paper. But it concerns me greatly that one of the most frequent words I see is unknown. And the chief unknowns are for the demolition infrastructure development cost. So to me, one thing I think that we don't have that we need for this whole project, and I think we're on the right track because there's time limitations. But the one thing we need is a complete budget. Like, sorry, just stop because it's so loud. We have incomplete information. I took the grid that we're supposed to rank things on, and the one cost we have is the acquisition cost. The others, you gave us a general estimate for infrastructure, but for each site, like particularly for the wastewater treatment plant, there's not even a remote estimate for that. And what worries me is, we have $3 million, and that's got to cover acquisition, whatever that may be. If it's not zero, it's got to cover water, wastewater, anything that has to do with site development, putting in more lighting. Potentially that $3 million would have to pay for the helipad, right?
Yes, miss.
Right.
It would.
So to me, I would like to see built in before we nail down a site that we want, a better approximation of what the other costs would be and see how they add up.
Yes, ma'am, and I agree with you, you need a cost. At this point, for this exercise, we put together the analysis based on the metrics that you all decided as a group to nail down and to funnel down to a particular property. Any of these properties are all gonna have the same footprint, if you will, for a site plan. You're gonna have your parking lot, you're gonna have your drainage, your water sewer connections. The cost analysis that was done was whether or not there were existing utilities and how difficult it would be to get to those utilities. There are gonna be unknowns until we specify exactly which property we're gonna go to. If not, we're gonna pay you a lot of money to figure that out. And that's thousands, tens of thousands of dollars for that type of review. At this point, we really need to nail down which one we want, and then allow our architect to move forward with getting those costs into budget numbers, because we need a design. You can't have a cost without a design, and that's where we are right now in the process.
Can't design without a location.
Correct, can't have a design without a location, correct.
And building on what the chief said, both the Pick and Save lot and Bustler, those ingress and egress would be right under 17. So that's the problem, because you would be, a fire truck would be going right out. And like a lot of them, I mean, if you have it right, if all the bays are.
Not necessarily, because Hank Bustler, you're gonna come out, you have orange right there.
But
Hank Bustler, you have a two side street, so you can utilize the turn. The thing on Hank Bustler is that you have a northbound only.
Correct, that's what I was gonna say.
That's the issue there. But that is something that comes into cost to work with the DOT and change that traffic pattern. But that's, again, I don't know what that cost would be. It is significant.
the property goes, it's the whole block, so it goes
Correct.
from one street to the other.
Correct.
So we can always change, I mean.
But you can't use the side streets.
Right, so you have to come out on 17, that's what I'm saying, okay. So that's what I'm, because obviously we wouldn't have as much. Right now, the current station is oriented towards eucalyptus. So you come out of eucalyptus and then you go to 17. I agree that we should have a flasher out there or something. And this problem too with Junction is it's a bad intersection, but I think that if we approach DOT properly and we're putting our fire station down Junction, we could probably fix that whole intersection and maybe we could get some real improvements there instead of just hoping. But now we can go to DOT and say, hey, this is a serious issue. It's been a problem just for traffic. Maybe we need to look at some multiple improvements there. I know it's a challenging site because you're coming up the hill from out of town.
That's
and
the
speed
biggest
limits,
concern.
But we could at least go to DOT and say, hey, we need to reevaluate this, keep it 35 all the way down past there, put in a flasher. We probably could fix that and save some lives or save some traffic problems there. And also put a fire station
You
there.
could even have traffic calming devices coming up the hill. There's a lot of solutions there.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the comment that was made about the speed or our assessment on safety. What we were discussing when we formalized this was that it is a highway. even though it's posted at 35 miles per hour, it's rarely, I mean, people fly down this road. Side streets, even though they might be higher, they're a little bit less traveled, if you will. And so, you don't have as much traffic. And I just wanted to put that out there. That's what our thinking was behind that.
So I'm gonna,
Another
oh
question.
yeah, I thought you were done. You said this was your,
No, I have a couple of questions, but I mean,
well,
it depends on how.
Go ahead.
we want to go around. Okay, so the other question is really, I don't really understand the emphasis on putting it south of town for future growth. Because the wastewater treatment plant is not in the city limits.
No, it is.
yeah,
It
it's
is in
just,
the,
City limits.
it is all, it is in the city limits, it's annexed.
Oh, we annexed that.
Yes.
Well, it certainly is at the
So,
far,
south end, yes.
far south limits.
Mhm.
And if you're talking about, serving the most people live north of there. I mean, is there a project that someone's gonna build down there that we don't know about? That
Well,
we're
there's
trying to
been
build
development.
there?
There's
Yeah.
been some development talks and for the ag lands over there, but the thinking behind that too as well, Chief can talk to you about this more. The county works with Volusia as well. There's interlocal types of, coverage happening. We also have access to all of southern Putnam, and that goes for anywhere that we're at. We have to think about that. So looking at the south part of town, it's not west. We've even talked about other properties that may be on the west side of town that we hadn't put in here that may be available. But we service a larger area than just the city proper
Okay,
of Crescent City.
I know that.
Yes,
I know we do.
yes.
But regardless, it is first and foremost the residents of the city of Crescent City that we serve. It's the businesses and the residents, they pay more taxes. We, I believe, aren't we the only entity in South Putnam that actually has city-paid staff? Is there,
we're the only one in, except for Black.
Right, we have, so what I'm saying is, we are taxing our businesses, we are taxing our residents to provide a municipal service. And in terms of future growth, it is certainly my hope, I think we should all hope, when we are trying for this, that our commercial infill and our residential infill should substantially increase. We have fewer population in the city of Crescent City and fewer businesses than we did 30 years ago. Our population is gradually going up, but there should be, unless there's a new town built south of here, we should as well be looking at serving the residential infill and whatever may be built between here and the school. Unless we just wanna, unless we just want to decide we're just gonna serve the county and not necessarily the city. City residents and businesses pay extra for this.
So I'm gonna, because I know that some of our commissioners, we do have, I think some of us have some time, there's some time constraints here today. So, I do want to ask you one thing about the helipad. I keep hearing this about the helipad. That helipad, I don't know that the city of Crescent City, that's serving all of South Putnam.
Yes.
And so why have we not reached out to the county and said, you need to put a helipad in South Putnam? And us not have to, because if you get a helipad, guess what? We're gonna have to maintain that helipad, for whatever difference, the lights, whatever's needed for that. So have we talked to the county as far as where they would find, a location that would be centrally located for all of you emergency response units to get to in the case of, needing to use that helipad?
Yes, so the helipad, here's why the helipad is important. For any stroke patient, any trauma patient, any OB patient, any pediatric patient with significant injuries, they have to be flown. Our transport time by ground, it could be up to an hour and 40 minutes.
I understand all
So
that, that's
just-
not the question I'm
Correct,
asking.
and so I'll
I'm
get
asking,
your
have
question.
you talked to the county about putting a helipad in South Putnam?
They say that there are 2 helipads in South Putnam already, there's no need for another.
Where's the second one?
The second is at the Satsuma Fire Station. And basically, in this, the second half of your question, When the helipad is built, maintenance is
Yeah.
minimal.
Well, I know,
You just
you have to,
need
you have to have some lights, I mean, I
You
think
do
you
not
don't have to have lights,
no,
on, okay.
Like I said, at Station 23's other helipad, it's a field, it just has to be a clear designated location. And you can give them a Latin launch.
Everybody, for the recording standpoint, one speaker there every time, at one time, okay? Because otherwise it confuses the recording, and right now with us not having a clerk, I want everybody to please be cognizant of that. So you're saying that once we put that in, then there's nothing that we have to do. Can a helipad go on top of the building?
It can,
It would be more expensive.
a helipad, yeah, I was gonna say, that would be up to the contractor, it would depend on the structure of the building. If it can support it, it can. The problem is then accessibility to the top of the building. You'd have to put in an elevator and all of that.
Again, everybody, one speaker, one time. Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. It would then require an elevator, extra expenses, but it can go on top of the building. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am,
Yes.
when you're done, I have a couple questions about helipad.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, you want me to go ahead?
If you have a helipad, let's
Well,
get
actually,
that done.
not,
So let's just see
Okay.
if we can.
Sure.
so for the helipad, to me, especially hearing more and what Chief Razor has said is not in the documents. I have a concern about putting a helipad within the city of Crescent City, any residential or business area that is all of a sudden going to be used, not just by emergency personnel for transport of patients, but the Coast Guard, training, whatever. Helipads are extremely noisy, and we have to think about the compatibility for our residences and businesses.
To answer your question, the best I can understand, the only facility or location that we're looking at that would accommodate one would be the Junction Street. There's no residents in that area currently.
Well,
Not to say there's not gonna be later, and I understand that.
Well, there
but
is one, actually, I think there's a house that's right across the street.
But
There's several,
that's true.
there's houses right across the street in that whole vicinity.
okay, so my comment about that is that I think you have to take great care when you're building helipad, as to what you are using it for, and the impact that it's going to have on the surrounding properties, because if you bought a nice home somewhere and you thought you were buying into a nice, quiet residential area, and all of a sudden there's a helipad that's being used from multiple sources, the neighbors are going to be substantially impacted. So I don't know what this does with our $3 million. I don't know if we can use it for 2 different locations. I mean, obviously, I have 2 friends who've been life flighted for strokes, but I think that may need a separate analysis.
it
But
would be
we have
minimal impact.
nothing.
It's not gonna be used on a regular basis. It would only be used for emergency situations. We fly out of Southland probably twice a month.
Okay, but you just said that it could be used by all of South Putnam, it could be used for training, and it could be used for the Coast Guard.
If necessary, yes, ma'am.
Well, okay, but we have to define, is that an appropriate location? Because if the Coast Guard is having a 3-day exercise with 5 helicopters, we have to provide for that. And I'm not just gonna go blindly saying we're gonna put a helipad somewhere and let the chips fall where they may. That's not right.
Can I say something
Yes.
there? So I don't believe that would take place ever without this body's approval, number one, because it's owned by us and it's training, it would be short-lived. The other thing about it though is I want to create a
Wait,
scenario.
it would be short-lived, okay, but it will occur.
We don't
So,
know if that would occur. They have military training facilities for that. We're talking one helicopter to come in, check out the pad, they do their write-ups and then they're gone. I mean, and we don't even know if that would be the
Right.
case. This is very high-level discussions. We don't know if that's actually the case. When it comes to the helipads, I want to paint a picture for you. It's catastrophic. We got hit with a couple tornadoes during a hurricane. Lights are out. We have no access down 17. Routes coming up south from southbound have no access. You have helicopter pad in the city, which is still city proper, can bring water, you can bring goods, you can bring services into the community that may need it. It still services our community. If they can't get to us from Satsuma, there's nothing else. If the other place over there has an issue, we're totally locked out. We do have an agreement, and I think that owner has been more than gracious, and I know the city's so appreciative of him. But being able to have our own access to a helipad changes our emergency response game. The decision that you all will make is gonna decide, where we're putting the station, but thinking about it not just being a fire station, but being an emergency services complex is more of the idea of what I was thinking into the future. The only optimal one for that would be the one in the south, but there are other optimal locations, and we may grow down the road and get a secondary as the city grows, who knows? But there are optimal, all these locations are optimal, they all have their pros and cons.
Okay, but Mayor, just one follow-up on the
Yes.
helipad thing. So is there something that makes it impossible for the helipad to be in a different location than the regular fire station?
It's
No.
this,
So here,
Appropriation,
Pardon?
our appropriation.
It has to be on one side.
yes,
And what, because I think it was mentioned in a meeting, but there's nothing on paper as to the cost of the helipad.
it's 150 by 150, 6 inches deep, I mean, I don't even think maybe that.
22,000 square feet.
22,000 square feet concrete pad, that's what it is.
if it became a financial issue, all we have to do is have a level piece of ground. We don't even have to. Correct.
That was my next question.
Yes.
So to you, and with your scenario, and I understand it, and I know where both of you want this to go. But your scenario is, if we've got to have a helicopter in here, they can land that on a vacant piece of land.
They can,
Correct.
It's clear.
they can, we
So-
have plenty.
So I'm not gonna say we're not gonna get water, we're not gonna get food, we're not gonna have out, they could land on Irwin's property down here on the end. If we're in an emergency situation, everything's open.
Correct.
So that's, I understand your rationale to this, but at the same time, I don't want necessarily for us to base this station on the absolute necessity of that. Do we have keys to I thought that they provided us with keys to the treatment center? Should we need to get into the helipad? Do we not have keys?
They gave us keys and they no longer work. They either changed the electrical.
So did we talk to them about it
I
and
have,
ask
and they
them?
said they would work on that.
Okay,
last
so I mean, so
The
the scenario you painted though, is that it was problematic, they weren't, it sounded almost as if they were not,
Cooperating.
I think that was
cooperating
just
with us.
recent, correct, chief?
Correct, and
That was just
the
recent.
other issue with that location is they're fixing to start construction, and once they start construction, we cannot use that helipad.
We've been told otherwise.
We cannot. I talked to the actual flight crews, they will not land where there's construction, because they're worried about debris. And even if you come by and say, hey, everything's good, and they suck up a piece of plastic or something,
Well,
take
okay.
the helicopter out.
I think that you're putting a lot of emphasis on this helipad and that's.
It's a very
that's-
small piece.
So Commissioner, yes.
One of the questions to the chief. Sure. When we first started talking about the ambulance station, and a citizen had come to me and said, why don't we build the fire station down at the wastewater treatment plant? And I said, well, that's so far away, how's that gonna make a difference? But your answer to that is, what is the difference in response time, even between that location and the current fire station?
No.
Like a minute, 45
Yeah.
seconds?
Um,
I believe you said 45 seconds.
Yeah, so if we go from our station to the south end of the city, we're talking 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and vice versa.
So putting the fire station there is not going to make a discernible impact on the response time to the whole city.
No.
So it's not like having it here or there is gonna make any difference whatsoever. We're not a big enough city
Correct.
that that's gonna make any real discernible difference.
Yeah, the only thing it would affect would be outlying of the city, and even then, once we get on 17 at higher speed, will make up the difference in time, so it's not gonna make a difference in response.
So I just want people to understand that where the fire station building itself is not gonna make much of a difference to the response time. I mean, it's really, and we need to think about the future. We need to think about the fact that this sheet metal building, as I've said several times, I sat here behind the old city hall during Hurricane Francis and watched the roof blow off the fire station and blow down the road into the power line. It's not safe for you guys to be in during a hurricane. We need a building that is hardened, we need a building that's
We're
secure.
getting that.
Right, but we need one also that is room to move and to grow for the future.
Yes.
And has room for you to turn around the fire trucks. That's my biggest thing. The helipad, I know what a helipad is. My brother, or my half-brother has flown helicopters his entire life. And yes, he flew a helicopter, landed in our backyard out in Lake Como. So yes, you can land it anywhere. But also, when you have pilots, medevac pilots, and I know because I would not be in this, and I would be dead if it wasn't for a medevac pilot, picking me up after my car accident and taking me to ORMC. And they landed in the middle of the Florida Turnpike and picked me up.
Right.
But they also, when you have a dedicated helicopter pad,
Yes.
it is clear, they know it's safe, they know it's built specifications, there's a windsock out there. You can put a strobe light by it, but besides that, it's a piece of concrete, and they know that it's gonna be level and that it's gonna be secure for them to land on. So yes, they can land in Market Square, they can land at Irwin's property, they can land anywhere, but they like to land where they know there's not gonna be any trees around and nothing going around, and that's what a helicopter pad gives us.
Yes.
But I don't think the helicopter pad is the part that I care about.
Correct.
And we need to have a fire station that's for the future.
Correct.
And in my mind, the only property that is the wastewater treatment plant property. Because the rest of them don't really make sense to me.
If I may, I talked to the state. The state did say that we could use those funds for purchase of a property. And we can use what we need. The only thing is that when we originally went appropriations for 24, and for the 25, one of the representatives no longer there, we have a new representative, we would need a letter from them, basically support letter. It can happen through the marshal's office, or we can directly solicit our representatives directly and say, we would like to use some of these funds to purchase this said property.
Yes.
With that being said too, if we went with a property, such as the old Hank, I forgot, I'm so sorry, yes. You can change the building, you don't have to have everything housed in one building. We can design multiple buildings with pass-throughs, so you can still get pass-throughs on that property, and you have two side streets that you can come in, and you can change the actual, design pattern on the road for that north-southbound and egress. But it takes money, and it'll take engineering, a little thinking outside
What
the
you
box.
have to do then is build a center station with 2 bays facing opposite directions.
Correct,
Which would increase construction costs to do.
correct, but it can be done, and I just wanna let the commission know that it can be done.
So let me ask you about, on that property. When you looked at that property, did you look at the property in the entirety, or did you just look at that one area? Because I believe that property owner wanted to keep that one that's closest to Lemon, but do away with all that other. And you realize that behind that property sits on a 20-foot alleyway easement that's still owned by the city that they have not abandoned. Now, the property owners have gone ahead and they abandoned it themselves. I know because I live there and I have no access to my backyard because on both sides of me, the previous property owners went ahead and took that over. And that property actually sits on 12 feet of that 20-foot alleyway easement.
Correct.
So I don't know, what did you take into consideration when you were looking at that property?
So what I was looking at, ideally, so for instance, the fire stations with drive-through bays, the bay lengths are roughly 74 feet, 74 to 78 feet deep. So if you're looking at it, the property lays long by
Right.
17. So that's 78 foot deep. If you come in from the side, as I stated, our apparatus has 40-foot turn radius. So we would again have to shimmy the trucks around just to get them in the bays, especially the first bay. If you come in the road, it would be virtually impossible to get that apparatus in there. Even with the additional footage, we would still have to jockey the truck around to get in it. So the only other option I was thinking was to push the station back further and then back the truck in off the 17. So that was where my safety concern with one personnel backing the apparatus, depending on nighttime weather, whatever the situation, I'm trying to do safety and protecting the apparatus from hitting the bay. That was my ideal.
Okay, again, you're not answering
Yeah, I
my
was gonna-
question, did you consider the entire property or
Yes,
just
ma'am,
the
I
portion?
considered the entire property.
Okay,
Yeah, we did, we considered lemon to orange.
to orange,
Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
so I don't believe that that's what that property owner was he was envisioning holding on to the one property that's right there on Lemon and eliminating those other buildings. So I think today, really what we need to do today, in the essence of time and everyone's, is we need to eliminate out of this those properties that we know for a fact it's not gonna be feasible. And so that's what I think today we need to do, is we know that there's several properties, including possibly our own property that we own, just based on the fact that that's gonna shut down our fire station. That's, to me, a biggest concern, is we'll have a fire station shut down for about a year, if not longer. We never know, you never know with construction. The elementary school was supposed to be already opened and it's not opened yet. So that's something that would be of concern to, I think, all of our residents as well. My understanding too is when we met with the state, that we could not acquire with this money unless we petitioned them for that. Now, you're stating something different, that as long as we had, is it our current representative who's no longer there, or the former one that,
No, it's
that
our
got us
current,
at first? Because both of them worked on getting, one got one set, the other got the other set.
yes, our current
So our
representative.
current representative would have to write a letter.
Yes, it's
Okay.
either, and the state said that they're always reluctant usually to put something in writing, but they have a mechanism for communication with them, so if we wanted the state marshal to handle it, we would just give them the information and they would do their
They would do that.
dealings back and forth and get us an answer pretty quick.
Okay.
We were there in Julie, so,
Yeah.
and those slave days.
Yeah.
We can ask them. Yes.
Okay, Commissioner DeVito.
Yes, a lot of unanswered questions, but one thing I don't understand is, originally, we were going to use the existing site, and, well, I had a question for
That
Mr.
was
Taylor.
for a different, remember, that was for an ambulance station, that wasn't for, and that was a phase one in hopes of phase two. Now we've got them combined and we're doing a complete overhaul.
Okay, but just hang on, this is my question. Why is it impossible to do it in phases? Why is that not possible, to do it in phases?
Are you talking about the Summit Street site?
I'm talking about the existing site. We could do it in phases before, but now we can't do it in phases.
The 201 Summit Street site where the current fire station
Correct.
is about an acre, 0.98 acres.
Yes,
And it has no site water retention. And one of the concepts of adding the ambulance dormitory in there and the apparatus bay for the ambulance was not to impact site water retention. The additional cost for site water retention, in addition to taking up physical space, would certainly cost more money. And again, it was a 2,600 square foot addition to a 4,000 square foot facility. So it became, I guess it's not impossible, but certainly undesirable to try to pursue that. And the other issue, of course,
try
is,
to do what? Do it in phases?
yeah, we consider doing it in phases. When you do something like that in phases, you would build that one addition, which would have been the ambulance dormitory and apparatus bay, and then you would tear down the existing apparatus bay and rebuild a new one. That's kind of what we thought about doing.
Plus, my understanding, Mr. Taylor, is to do it in phases, it was gonna be more expensive.
It typically costs more money because you have a close down and a startup every time you do that. So every time you start a new project, it costs more money. Plus, when you do something in phases, there's gonna be some kind of a connection point. When we did the ambulance facility with the apparatus bay, we had a breezeway, 10-foot separation
I saw that.
to try to help our code compliance issues. Buildings are kind of non-compatible. So
The other
they
concern,
were difficult.
I'm sorry, Joe. The other concern with doing something in phases is the fire code and building code update frequently. So say he starts a phase and it turns into that midpoint of the year where the code compliance changes. Now the phase is complete, he has to go back and bring it up to the new code before he can connect the new phase to the building. And for every section of phase, we have to keep going back and updating. So it creates.
Till you finalize CO.
Yeah, it creates a structural nightmare.
And also the reason we were doing phases is because we got the $1 million first.
Yes.
And then we were gonna go back and we didn't know we were gonna get another $2 million. We've got the money now, we should do it all at once.
And we should do a good job with the money.
Right.
Right.
And it would be more efficient.
And I have one more question for Mr. Taylor, because you had said you think that we should eliminate unsuitable sites now. So Mr. Taylor, out of the sites that we have before us, in your view, are any of them unsuitable? Would you mark any of them
The
unsuitable?
smaller sites, the 106 North Summit Street and 201 North Summit Street. 106 is only at 0.5 acres and 201 is 0.98 acres. Both of those to me are not viable. They're just too tight. The vehicles that fire station uses has a very large turning radius. I think Chief Brazier said a 50 or so foot turning. That's the outside of the vehicle as it moves in or out of the fire station. And if you have to back up on, in this case, it would be Highway 17 to get into one of those apparatus bays, it is dangerous. It would take up 2 lanes at least, I think, to back up. And if it's a single individual without some kind of monitor, it's particularly difficult. Of the 4 sites that you've considered, I think the most palatable site, reasonable site would be the waste treatment facility. It's roughly 5 acres. It sounds like Mr. Harris said that there's water and sewer available, which is an essential utility. It is remote. Helicopters are noisy. And I don't want to go off on a tangent. I think that's the most viable site.
Good. Okay, so, and this is to the commission. Thank you very much,
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Taylor. It just greatly concerns me that somehow by requesting more money, we are now in the position of moving our fire station to the far, far south of town. And there just seems something inherently wrong in, we've gone through a whole planning process for our CRA in our downtown. The things that people highlighted was walkability, retaining the small town feel. Somehow it seems like we are negating that by going to an even further suburban plan, moving this thing south of town. And quite frankly, I'm not sure. I think we got ourselves into this situation by going for the additional money. And although it will bring us a better facility,
I'm trying.
it will bring us, okay, well, you can listen.
Yeah.
I listen to you.
Okay, let's
So,
finish
okay.
that. Bring it
It
in.
will bring us a better facility, but I am just having a difficulty seeing why a station that was viable whatever time ago that Mr. Taylor provided his draft plan is no longer viable now. That just does not compute to me. Compute. And the other, well, I just think we're missing some things in the planning process.
Okay, Commissioner Burton, and then I want to speak.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say one thing, I'm not sure about how far away we actually are moving this. I mean, we are only a 2 square mile city. And, so when we say far away, it sounds like, it's moving miles away. And, it's really not. But what it also is opening up is our downtown area a little bit for more businesses in an area where the old, fire station is. It's hopefully going to, it's not that far away. And of course it will do its job, no matter where we put it, really, so.
I'm a little concerned with Commissioner DeVito with your concern that we've opened something up. From the get-go, we have always stated that this facility down here is unsafe. When we're in a hurricane situation, and I have been in those storm situations here where we're not sure, the fire department cannot respond. Let me
I
finish.
know that part.
They cannot respond, so that's important that we provide our fire emergency response here, including the sheriff, if they have to go in there, that we provide them with a safe facility. When we did that, we were adding the ambulance station, and that was going to benefit all of the residents in this area by having that ambulance station right here in town. with the understanding that we would continue to try to find a way to make that fire station safe, suitable, and to help us as we go into the future. I think right now we are very blessed, thankfully to our legislature, that we are going to be able to, here in Crescent City, have a state-of-the-art fire rescue facility. Really an emergency management compound.
Yes.
Now, I will say this, that my concern is with having that we're sticking it out here where nobody will really see it. I mean, how many of us really travel down there? That's a concern of mine, that here we have this opportunity and we are we're tucking it away. Where this could be, as you drive through small communities, that is always to me, a symbol of safety, stability, but I also understand how that spot does. My question to you in thinking this through is, and I know you talked about the elementary school, but we don't know that elementary school will ever really be released because they probably are gonna have to use that. There is the property there on Central, right there on Central. Have we looked at that property where they have that bus loop? Not that we want to add another property, but this is a big decision that we're having to make, and we want to make sure that we do something that we have to live with this. No matter where we put it, we have to live with this for
It's the future.
the future.
Yeah, is the property you're talking about the property right here across the street on Central?
No,
No, by the
the property behind where the old playground and that vacant area is and the bus loop is. Now it belongs to the school.
Correct.
We have the opportunity to ask the school if with whatever property we need there, would they be willing to separate that from their parcel and either donate it or charge us a small fee for it.
Right.
But have you considered that location?
Yes, I've considered that location. The reason I didn't bring up that location is strictly finance. With that building already in place, we don't know what the water lines are, because like you talked about, we got a sprinkler in the building that has 8 foot-pounds of head pressure. We don't know if they can supply it. That would have to go back to water mains. We could have to potentially dig up the whole building to get to the water mains, or at least the flooring.
I'm not thinking about the building, there's vacant property there.
You're just talking about the property to build one straight up. Again, I wouldn't have a problem with that location. We would, honestly, would have I was thinking of the buildings that are currently in place. I wasn't thinking of that. Really, we can look further into that.
And I don't know, I'm throwing that out there that it is, and currently it is not on the tax rolls. Some of these others, we have a concern because we don't know what's gonna happen in the future if we continue to take property off the tax rolls.
Sure. And the other thing, is that really your main concern, is visibility of our fire station?
No,
Is
but
that your main- it seems to be though.
no, but it is one of my concerns. Yeah, it is, but it's not my main concern. My main concern is safety. And that we have it, in an area that it's gonna meet all the needs, and I understand, that's why I said, I understand the wastewater treatment area. It has that, you could do the training. I don't know as far as a cleanup, what we would have to do with a cleanup there. That was something that Keith would have to speak to, is if any cleanup would be required there, just based on what that property has been used for in the past. So, but
Mayor?
yes.
I did have a couple of questions about the wastewater treatment property. And just my observation, I understand why you mentioned visibility. And also accessibility. A lot of people in this town do not have a lot of transportation. For example, Commissioner Roy is not going to ambulate himself to the wastewater treatment plant. He will have to get a ride, like a lot of people here walk, or ride a bicycle, or use some non-vehicular conveyance. I guess you're smiling at me. The wastewater treatment plant is in an area that is not accessible unless you either walk without a sidewalk or, I'm talking about the community aspect of it. You either walk without a sidewalk or you don't get that. And in the past, I'm just talking about the role of our fire station, it has, as you mentioned, been a central site and visible in terms of safety, people able to go by, that kind of thing, but specifically about the wastewater treatment plant. Is that in a watershed area for any of our wells?
No.
It's not in, okay? And what is the elevation of that site, the wastewater treatment site?
I don't have a specific elevation, but it's high and dry.
Yeah, it's very high.
It's high and dry.
It's off the top of the same.
Currently, right now, it's still staged up with some hurricane debris that Keith has been slowly working on getting rid of.
And to
But it
be
needs to
clear,
be,
yeah, it's part of the land that we bought for the wastewater treatment plant, but there's not anything that's been done as
Correct.
far as wastewater treatment use on the
Correct.
property.
Yes.
It's just the 5 acres attached to it.
The entire 5
There's not-
acres,
yeah, there's-
where's Keith, is he,
he's right here.
can you confirm that we've never done anything on that property that would require any type of a cleanup?
But just
Vegetation years.
Great.
We haven't done anything in years out there. We haven't spread sludge in
I knew that the spread
5 or
sludge
6,
was
7 years now. Yeah, we didn't spread on the whole section either. And really and truly, the corner, you don't even need 2.5 acres. You don't need the whole 5.
That's just a parcel size.
But being we're on that, we're gonna have to find a new place to start burning, or we're gonna have to pay to have the brush off. So I just wanna bring that up since we're talking about it.
And one thing I want to add to, just a reminder for the commission, we did get a letter of intent from a potential buyer for the city-owned fire station property. We could also enter into a leaseback in order to make the sale, gather the money, and lease the building while we are building our other building. So there's no loss in continuity at that time. The deals can be made, and that money can be used to purchase another
And then
property.
we'd be putting that property back on, we'd be putting that property on the tax
Back on the tax
roll.
rolls, yes.
Okay, I'm not sure that with Mr. Taylor, with the Bustler property, if you eliminate that one building, Keith, you know which building I'm speaking to, that would provide the amount of acreage that you would need.
You would need, it sounds like from what Mr. Taylor said, at least 1.5 acres to be optimal, at least
Well,
at the minimum.
again, we need to determine the parameters of the health plan. You know, I'm of the opinion that it doesn't have to be all effective. You need a landing spot, and then you need a clearance spot. I'm thinking that the Satsuma Fire Department is basically just grass behind their parcel. So there seems to me there's some flexibility in what the health plan actually is. If you want to plan for some future development, I would think a 2.5 acre site is going to be a reasonable selection. The 5 acre site for the waste treatment, as Mr. Harris said, is not necessary for the whole site. But if you need a little bit more property, you got a little bit more property, it's easier to do. So,
And to ease of mind of the 2 points that just were brought up, the burning can still be done on that site, it just has to be 150 feet away from the structure. And then for your question about people without transportation, I just want to make sure everyone is aware, if you call 911, we can come and do blood pressures and stuff like that, there's no charge unless you're transported, it's a free service that's provided. So they could still get the same treatments or whatever without having to come to the fire station, we don't transport anyway in a fire truck, so it wouldn't change anything on that aspect.
How many people do you
Not really
currently
talking
serve?
about that.
Minimal, we probably get, yeah,
One week.
maybe.
Well, Joe,
Okay, so I think again, today we need to eliminate, that's what we need to do is eliminate, and then if we need to revisit this, I think we've eliminated it down to where we could bring it back at a regular meeting, commission meeting.
But now you've added another piece of property too.
Well, and I don't know if that's even feasible, but
One thing that I'll bring up to you all on the next go around, I'll get with the county. I know JR had told us before how much they spent on the site work for theirs. I'll get that square foot price, and at least we can, I can work with Mr. Taylor to figure out the square footage of the development, and we can have some sort of grasp on the number on the money for development portion. You know, sidewalks, paving, underground site, storm, stuff like that.
Two things I wanted to add. The property that you were talking about that's attached to that's on Central Avenue there, that hopefully would be a primary development site for the business district if we're going to at some point in the future. And also, part of that field has a retention pond on it that services Building 15 along South Prospect. So without taking care of that and somehow rerouting that stormwater, that does kind of make that site very weird shaped. So
And that site might not even be, it's probably not even feasible. I was just looking at vacant property that we have in town.
And the other thing I wanted to say was that the old Hank Buster Chevrolet property, there is a plume underneath there of gasoline that has come from the gas station across the street that goes underneath Highway 17. Currently, there's mitigation wells.
It's done.
Did they take?
Yeah, I live,
There's one that's.
that's right behind my house,
Okay,
so I
to
know.
stop the plume,
They've taken that off.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Taylor said, and he could speak to more about it, but the existing infrastructure down here at the school, your.
Sidewalk retention.
Yeah, sidewalk retention, go ahead, sir. Yeah.
I was gonna say, if the one exists, Mr. Lord, it's possible it could be expanded and reused as part of this development.
It's just, they picked a very weird site, a place to put it, because it's right up against Central Avenue, so it almost makes it, it's in the way of almost anything that, I don't know why they put it where they put it, but.
Just didn't think of it.
We're really high and dry too. Underground retention is not something that could be done here,
Yeah, I prefer to use,
above.
yeah, sidewalk retention
Okay.
exposed. It's easier to maintain and
Sure.
less expensive.
Sure.
So let's go ahead if we can, and if the commission so desires, let's eliminate some, and then let's get some direction as we go forward. Is everybody good with that? Yes,
Your
sir.
Honor, I really think that the site across the street has some viability. Can we expand our search to look at that a little bit more closely? I don't know, Mr. Martin, have you looked at that?
I have not looked at it, but I'd like to go and do a site visit to see the parameters and then we can do an analysis just like we did here. Just a 5-6 slides
Yeah.
and give you an idea of what that looks like.
If that's the commission's,
The site across the street. Which
On
one is that?
Central
On
Avenue?
Central by the school.
School.
By the school.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Got it. Well, and then Mayor, speaking of additional sites, central site, you had mentioned that you're not sure if the, Middleton Burning Elementary School site will ever be available for,
we don't know,
we don't know.
we don't know.
There is property across the street.
That's the Cherry Street, that's the property that I believe has already, it's up for development.
I think it's already as well.
On
Not Cherry
308.
Street. It's
Oh, you're
right
talking
across.
about across on Cherry Street?
You know,
Just directly across from Milton Murray, but some of that's marshland, some of that is wetlands. But it is, and someone bought that from the
Someone
Tears.
bought that,
Yeah, the
yes.
Tears owned it, and they,
Right, so
someone
there's,
purchased it, it's the same company.
okay, it is my observation that there is quite a bit of high and dry property that does not have significant structures on it, right adjacent to 308, that could not possibly be marshland.
No, but I think that's privately, I think that's part of the,
The same developer.
Derek would be able to, that's part of the development, I believe. And I know that, Chief, do you want to talk to that? Because I know you looked at it.
That piece she's talking about,
On sidewalks.
Huh?
it has nothing to do with the housing development.
It doesn't have anything to do with the housing development,
And
okay?
it is purchased privately, I believe.
Okay,
It's-
Purchase what?
Privately, the private owner has that property. I did look at that property. You're talking directly across the street from the school, the open land.
Correct.
Yes, ma'am. I'll try to find out who owns it. But it has been purchased recently, I'm pretty sure.
Right, because the reason I mention it is it's very walkable and it's near a residential area. I wouldn't necessarily want that out there.
Chief, if you would, just real fast, I know, did you look at some other property there at Middleton Bernie?
I looked at building 15 at Middleton Bernie on the corner. Me and Chief Highfield talked about that location before. The only issue with that is there's 2 trees on the corner. I don't know how it would affect those. The building does already have fire code. It has sprinkler, it has fire alarm. You would have to add base to it, it would turn sideways, and then it would be depending on what they're doing with the rest of the building as far as access goes. So we have looked at that fairly closely. And like I said, I looked at the property across the street and realized it was just recently purchased, so I didn't spend too much time with that, but I think the trees will come into play on the Middleton Burn, because it's right on the corner right there, Cherry, where the two trees sit on the edge. So that's kind of one of that location that I found.
Okay, where's Derek?
He went to the restaurant. That piece of land across the street from Milton Bernie was purchased by Feather Sparrow. What was it called? Feather Sparrow Properties in Indiana. From the 2 years, it's been 2 years on that.
Yeah, they
And I have no idea who they are, but,
What's, you might know this, Chief, what is our timeline as far as acquiring the property and presenting that we have ownership? Because we have to acquire it, we have to have ownership.
What?
The property acquiring, if we have to acquire a property, we have to identify, we have to have deed ownership. To do that, what's our timeline to give them the location?
I think it was 90 days before we start construction.
What was the question, Mayor? I'm sorry.
When do we have to give them the property that we're going to start construction on?
Talking about the state?
Yes,
As soon as possible, but there's not a.
no, I thought there was a time.
Wait a minute, Mayor.
Yeah.
Good. I think I can answer that because I looked at the minutes from October 7th. And Mr. Taylor said, or someone said, it's in the minutes, that the deadline with the state is to acquire control and ownership is January 30th of 2027. Not that we want to come up against that. But that if you look at the October 7th minutes, that's the date. And Mayor, now that you asked that question, can I make an observation?
Yes.
Okay. To me, I think this whole project needs more in writing and more time, a budget line and a timeline. For example, the timeline should include from acquisition to completion and any hard stop deadlines, so that we can see how they might interplay. But for example, a timeline that shows you have to have control by this time, whatever the 90-day construction thing is, how we are going to bring this in for a landing within the parameters that are set by the state grant. I think that would be extremely helpful. As well, to me, this project is missing a written narrative that contains a lot of the information that was said verbally today.
That was all, he pretty much read that.
No, saying that the answers from the podium. This project does not have what is typically had in a project like this, which is a written narrative that says what we want to do, how we're going to do it, what all the rationales are. And actually, one thing we haven't answered is what Commissioner Burton and I both brought up at the October 7th meeting. I'm sorry.
Should be ample copies.
So what Commissioner Burton said, and I had the same thing on my mind and asked the question, we don't have a written scope of the project. There's nothing in writing that says exactly, what is the purpose of this project, how much equipment are we gonna house, how many people are we gonna house, is it gonna be 1 story, 2 story, to be developed. It needs the project narrative.
Commissioner Vega, if I could, I don't think we could write a narrative until we have a completion.
That's where we're at with that.
Kind of what we've been saying all along.
Wait, that cannot possibly be true. You're saying we don't know how many personnel we're gonna house, we don't know how much equipment we're gonna house?
The equipment we have is the current equipment we have. As
Okay.
far as you were saying, 1 story, 2 story, we won't know any of
Okay,
that until we have.
So that's too much, but we should have, and Commissioner Burton said this in October, and I fully agree. We need to have a written statement of what it is we're trying to accomplish, because I've never seen a significant $3 million project operate without a timeline and a narrative, a stated objective. What is the objective of this? How much equipment? How many people? In fact, we've talked about planning for the future. what is the anticipated life of this fire station? We should know that. And a timeline would tell us, when do we plan to have this completed? I think we just need more on paper, and it will help us. It will help staff, it will help the commission, it will help the,
When did you say our deadline was? In 27?
January 27th.
January 30th.
I thought we had 18 months, so that would make sense. I was thinking it was
So
18
you
months.
know we'll take 18 months to make our decision as to where the location is, so you can start, you do know.
Yeah, with all due respect, I have no problem writing whatever needs to be put in writing. At this point, as far as number goes, no specifics, it's going to be difficult because that building will work as an emergency service facility. I could say it could have 8 people in it, but as stated, if a tornado rips through here, I'm putting 60, 70 people wherever I can put in there safely and to give them shelter, housing, security, whatever they need for that timeline. Because it is a fire station, those numbers will vary daily. Normal staffing will have 8 to 10 people there on a regular, depending on volunteers, and then volunteers can go. And at this point, I would appreciate it right away when I just take the location and start moving in that direction. We can easily throw together a narrative, whatever needs to be put in writing, that's not going to be a problem.
I believe we all understand here that we're building, I mean, we all approved going to the legislature and asking for the appropriations to build a state-of-the-art fire department. That was our first request, when we asked for the 2 million. They came back to us and said, what can you do with $1 million? And we said, well, we can build out the ambulance. We can build out the ambulance bay and the dormitories. That's where we were, when we were very blessed with getting this additional, and they did meet that they had told us that they would try to do, and we even came back with more. Thank you, Mr. Brillhart, for doing that for us, and including that additional $1 million. We have an opportunity, we all know that. I think also that you can't plan today for what we currently have. You're gonna have to look at what could this be in the future.
Sure.
And if it's 8 to 10 people that we need to house in there, then I think at this point in time, we have that opportunity, because we might not have that opportunity ever again. And so I think I agree with all of you that we've got to pin down a location. And then from there, we all know there's going to be infrastructure issues. We all know that, the building costs are going to be determined based on where we're going to locate it. And the size that we're going to be able to put there is going to be determined based on the acreage that we have available to us. I think my biggest concern right now is that we find the place that is going to best fit our needs. And that we've looked at everything, that we've looked at all opportunities here within town. And that's the only reason I brought that up, is because I was going through my head going, okay, where do we have vacant land that's currently not on the tax rolls, so we're not taking anything off the tax rolls, because that's the last thing that we really need to do. That's vacant land over there, we can put this back on the tax rolls, so we're getting a plus there. If we go out to, the wastewater, Commissioner Burton, you are right, I am a little concerned that we're have an opportunity there for what could be a very nice building that we're going to tuck away, and that's the one thing that Crescent City does need, I believe, is visibility of nicer buildings. But I think today that we need to, in the essence of time, that we need to go ahead, and I'll entertain a motion if any of the commissioners want to make one, as far as let's starting to eliminate. And sometimes that's how you come to your best position, is by eliminating. So I'm gonna open it up to that, and commissioners, that's pretty much all I have to say. All I have to say on this subject.
I move that we eliminate for consideration the existing fire station property, the property that was the old Pick and Save deal, and the old Hank Westland dealership for the new fire station.
Okay, would you just repeat that one more time, please?
I'm sorry, I move that we eliminate
The existing,
The existing fire station, location, as well as the old pick and save and the old Hayhustler dealership.
So is it on Florida Avenue?
Yes, Florida Avenue, yes.
The one on Florida, the one at Lemon.
I don't see how Lemon would work configure wise.
Okay. Do we have a,
And I remember stormwater too.
I'll second this. I'll second it, I should be, say it in here, yes. Because for some reason I just.
okay, so we currently have a proper motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion on this? Do any of you have anything you would like to add to this before we move forward? Yes, Commissioner DeVito.
Sure. So my concern is, regardless of what we eliminate, so we're saying we're not gonna design anything until we get a piece of property, we decide on it. But how do we know when we get that piece of property that we will be able to afford something that we need that larger piece of property for? Because we don't have square footage estimates, in what Mr. Taylor has passed out. And we don't have, although our city manager has said that he will get development estimates. And quite frankly, I just saw 2 new fire stations that were built in the area that weren't even the main fire station that cost $8 and $9 million each.
Those
Here in town?
No,
No.
no,
The
that's
one they
not-
just built was 1.7 million that they built out by the Boy Scout, and that's a state of the art.
And that included site work,
That included all this, well, yeah, I think the site work was a little bit more, but still.
maybe 150,000.
If we can't build this for $3 million for what we need, then shame on us, and shame on Mr. Taylor. I think that, and until we know the property, I don't even know that he can design this, so.
Correct.
I currently have, do you have anything else you need to add to this, as far as the eliminating these 3 properties?
Yeah, I agree with it. I think backing of the apparatus is gonna be difficult on the highway. That's my thing.
And, this, Mr. Taylor gave us was for the ambulance station.
Yeah,
Is the description, but this would go a long way to kind of, give us what, Commissioner DeVito was talking about. I mean, but this is just for the ambulance station. If we have something, because you're gonna need this to do the design basically, so someone needs to.
our team will continue to work to create that narrative that will be in conjunction with the construction, itemized list.
So I mean, we're gonna get this because Mr. Taylor's gonna have this summary of work before he starts designing. So you'll be able to provide us with something like it should be asked. But I think the configuration of it will be different based on the property, but we do know what we want. And the number of bays and the dormitory facilities, all that kind of stuff, so, I mean, that can be put together. But, do we want to vote on, sorry?
I'm gonna, I'll ask for a, if everybody is through with discussion, we're all through with discussion. Ms. Taylor, if you would please do a roll call for us.
Commissioner DeVito,
Nay.
Commissioner Lord,
Aye.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Burton,
Aye.
Mayor Myers.
Aye. So approved, so we know we've eliminated that. Now, as far as further action, do we want to direct staff to look at any additional locations?
You guys are trying, Commissioner DeVito was talking about the property that's across from,
On Cherry Street?
Mills Murray, and that property, Feather Sparrow Properties, they just purchased that in the, January of 2024 for $610,000. That parcel and several other parcels, so I don't think that they want to sell it if they just bought it for $610,000. I don't know what their plans are for it, but in looking at the wetlands, thing, there's a, I remember when I was a kid going to school, that there was like a lake over there, now it's just all grown up, but it is wet, most of the.
There's a water, there is a water flow that goes through there, it's yeah.
It is, yeah, it is, the center of the property shows us the wetlands, so I don't think that property would even be, seen.
There are other properties,
Yeah.
I mean, there are, it's gonna cost some money, that's all it boils down to.
Well, and then there's this other property that's down by a school, I guess, I'm not sure, I guess we put the fire station right there where we want to develop a nice little community down there. We can put a nice.
That's not where I'm
big-
talking, no, that's not where I'm talking.
You're talking up on Prospect.
No, I'm talking, yeah, Prospect,
Right, I know where you're.
Prospect and Central,
You're talking about
not the 5 acres.
the north side, yeah, the north side
This
of
north side.
the middle school
I
property.
just think you just have to keep in mind, okay, that we are trying to make that
I understand,
a nice
I understand.
place to walk, a nice place to have a restaurant, a nice place to, you know, if we do, keep the theater, you know.
We've got a fire station
We
there.
got a fire station right there.
I don't know how that new GC1 to CD1 or downtown.
And it might not, and that was just something I threw out because someone mentioned to me about right here on the corner. I'm like, oh goodness, no, because that has so much potential right
Right,
there,
right.
that to put a fire station there.
But I think the whole section has a lot of
It does.
potential, and we need to continue to try and get it going.
The highest use, really.
But when you're talking about the school property.
I'm just talking about everything along.
Okay, but we don't have anything to do with the school property because it belongs to the school and we're not trying to do anything there. So, it is zoned.
We don't have anything to do with the property either that Irwin has on there that was not included in that.
But we're proposing to buy it.
And with that, we would have to propose something to the school district that they separated that out.
Right, that's for another discussion for
Okay,
today. But we got two left here on the sheet, I suppose. It's Irwin and the city yard. If that's where we want to leave it, then we should just leave it there. Or we can take a vote.
Yes,
And after this vote, I would just want to know what you are tasking staff to do after this point, and we will get it done for you. If it's numbers, it's numbers. If it's more information, we'll do it. And so you guys can finalize and we can move forward because our plan is to give the information to Mr. Taylor as soon as possible, work with the state in order to move the process as quickly as possible. I don't want to wait till 27.
No, I know. We need to start moving now.
Right.
Mayor, if I could, for direction, I believe the city manager said he would get more precise figures from the county on the infrastructure development costs,
Mhm.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
As soon as we have the location.
As well, wait a minute, as soon as you have to look, you want us to choose the location and
We should have
then
the location in order to see what that location will need and how much all that will cost.
We're gonna have a footprint. I'll talk to Mr. Taylor. We'll have a footprint for both of these properties regardless. And I can get a square foot price based on the total cost and back that into the square foot of the property on the development side. And we can come up with a roundabout figure on both properties that'll be left, which is the Irwin property and the city yard property.
Right, so because if you need to have the whole list of your costs, so you see what is left over for building.
But if
And
we don't move soon, the costs are gonna continue to go
Yeah,
up.
I know.
We're gonna get less for our money too.
And I'll be honest, it
Yeah.
won't be detailed until we do get to a final property and a final design. This is gonna be very 30,000 foot view, based on square foot prices that the county paid for their most recent, and it'll just give you an idea. We'll give you a range, and that range will have a percentage of error, 5 to 10%,
Sure.
and you'll know what it'll be. And then we'll know based on the property size, what size building we're gonna have, and we have a square foot roundabout price for that as well, and we can give you an idea.
May I add, the program that I passed out is 2 years old. And it's not for this project, but that's the type of thing that we would do in conjunction with the chief and the city manager. And then it would help us to understand the scope of work. And it helps Mr. Vito to be able to see what you're gonna get.
well, I'm saying if I could, it's not just help me, I think the whole
The
commission
commission, I'm sorry.
needs to have a
You're right.
clear idea, and as well, we are spending money for the city of Crescent City. I think the public would like to understand.
You're absolutely right. I'm just.
As a public entity, we are going to get.
Yeah.
And if I could, Mayor, I just think it is so crucial to make sure that everything is well coordinated, that the city manager and his team create both a timeline for all the dates that need to be met, all the things that need to be accomplished, who's in charge of what the deliverables are, and running total of cost?
Well, Commissioner DeVito, Mr. Taylor's gonna be our project manager.
Correct.
He's gonna be the one responsible for this. He's the expert in this. Derek is not. And so Mr. Taylor is gonna be the one that is going to be, he's our advisor, is that correct? And basically our project manager, over this. And so he's the one that we were gonna be relying on to lead us in that direction.
Okay, but no, wait a minute, it's a budget timeline, a narrative, a project timeline, I think is within our city manager's grasp. Mr. Taylor needs to know
That's
how
an
he
easy
fits
thing.
into all this. Hang on just a second, I remember distinctly, I mean, we and Mr. Martin are responsible to the state for this grant, is that not correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so when we were trying to get the original, project off the ground, Mr. Taylor had a proposal for us, and then it turned out there was an additional $70,000 that was not included in his proposal, and I believe we had to use ARPA money to pay for that. So, I think we have to be responsible for estimating our own costs, and I just can't stress that enough.
I believe we spent the initial of 12,000. Is that correct? I believe it was 12,000.
That was to go forward.
That was to go forward in the design was
That was the
70,000.
due diligence back in 2022?
Yes.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Whatever what I'm saying, we need to keep our own running totals, our own timeline, because there's nobody that is responsible to the state ultimately, but this city, Crescent City.
Well, and I think we all understand that, Commissioner DeVito.
Okay.
And I mean, I don't think any of us are sitting here saying, just go ahead and just, here's the money. We all have to be responsible. This is the state's money, this is
Right.
taxpayers' money. And just like anything else we would do here in the city, we all have to be cognizant of that.
Yes.
And that's why we have to do everything as efficiently as we can. So for us to jump out there and spend money to give you an estimation for how each property is going, that's gonna cost money too, that really, I don't know that we need to spend. That's why today we said, let's eliminate.
Okay.
Now, I would commission before everybody, I know
I've got to get.
you've got to get going, but I would say that we've got these two properties. I don't know that Irwin's is even a viable option, but I think that as you go forward, if there is any other properties, the commission, if we want to tell them that if they come across a property, please by all means, bring that forward if you see something that would benefit.
Do I have the permission from the commission to approach Mr. Irwin to open up discussions about acquisition?
Well,
Well, just
It's my
remember, it's
feeling right now.
400, it's a
Yeah.
$500,000 that's gonna be coming out of the budget that we have to build what we're trying to do here. That's a lot of money.
It is.
Yeah, I don't see that that's,
And additionally, I just didn't include it in my motion because I didn't want to make the entire decision right then. But taking that off the tax rolls and any potential
Oh,
development
yeah, that's crazy.
is shooting us in the foot. I mean, that could be $100,000 a year in tax revenue.
Yep.
If it was developed as a gas station.
And that's why it was in my report
It's
as
highly
such.
visible.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's the right place either because you're still going, so I can make a motion right now to.
yeah, I think we,
I move that we go forward with the wastewater treatment plant parcel property as the site for the new fire station.
I'll second that.
okay, Ms. Taylor, if you would please do a roll call.
Commissioner DeVito,
No,
Commissioner Lord,
Aye.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Burton,
Aye.
Mayor Myers.
Nay. Okay. I think we've, y'all approved that though, so that's
Well,
basically where we're gonna put it.
And they can start putting stuff together, come up with another option. But of the options we have listed here, I think that that's the right option.
If there's anything that comes up.
Right.
We have a time period
Right.
of where we're collecting data and moving things. If anything comes up in the next 30 to 60 days, please let me know,
I
email me
just, the way
directly.
you worded that, that's the reason I voted against it, because the way you worded it, I felt like it eliminated any other options.
Well, but the thing is we don't
I was
want,
thinking
we
as
don't
of
want
right
Mr.
now,
Taylor
it's
to
fine.
have
Sorry, everybody's
start
talking
working
at once.
on an area.
Right.
And then 30 days from now, oh, man, you gotta change, we changed our mind.
Right.
Okay, we can't work like
I
that.
know that.
We have to get something solid.
Of the 5 options that we have, that to me is
The
the
most
one that we
viable.
should, that's the winner. But I mean, if we find something else, I'm not saying that that's, you know, the end all be all, but I think that that gives us something to work on and go forward. If we find something else, I think,
Yeah, absolutely,
you know,
absolutely. I'm gonna take a recess for a couple of minutes. I know Commissioner Burton, you've got to leave us.
I do.
And I have more.
Yeah, I'll take one out.
But I've got to go to,
Three things.
um,
The program that we have.
so Cam, we're taking a break. Okay.
Okay, so I
I think Mr. Burton,
we have to
Talk about it, hopefully the plan is
I think.
And you know what it is? You keep streaming, just mute the sound of on there. Yeah, she can stream again, and she just mute it so that you can hear it.
Okay, so,
Meeting is back in session. And so we've got, I'm gonna turn this over to you.
Okay, thank you. And I apologize, no excuses during the holidays. I just did not put together a narrative for you all that had a summary of these items. My wish really was just to bring these policy updates in draft form to you all as a read ahead, in order for you all to just kind of see the language that we're talking about using. Some of these have to do with city manager and also the commission, therefore I wanted to make sure that you all had a say in this. I can't do this on my own. And so this is really, again, to repeat myself, a read ahead, and I'd like to have these finalized before our February meeting. There's a couple options. We can do these by hand. You all can email me individually with any markups. I can also send you an actual form via a link that you can have access to a live Word document, and I can track who makes those changes. And then we can print those all up at a later meeting to decide, okay, yes, approve this one, no, deny that one, and then we can have a final document.
This came about, because after that one special meeting we had, and Mr. Martin sent me this, and I said, did you read the very end of it? Because it says the city manager has a final say. And there was nothing in here that speaks to what if somebody has a concern with the city manager.
Yes.
Or one of us as commissioners, even though we're basically all employees
Yes.
in some fashion, but that was, so that's really kind of what sparked this first one.
And I agree, after we had that occasion, it was, you had actually brought up, I believe, Mr. Martin, that the grievance procedure, was spelled out, but it was not, it did not include, something like that, which is obvious, an obvious overlook and something that we need to rectify. Hopefully we'll never have to worry about it, but we need to have it in the,
In the future,
in the books.
that our employees have a safe place, they feel like because you could have one that could be abusive or doing something that they know that they've got somebody to go to.
There always needs to be a path.
And so it's either, my recommendation in this is they either have the option to either go to the mayor or the city attorney.
Okay.
I don't know how the commission feels about this and reading through it, but I really kind of think that at that point, if it's against the city manager, that I don't know going to HR, because HR answers to
The city
the
manager.
city manager.
So you need someone that's outside.
If you need somebody that's should have more of an objective,
And sometimes that would be the city clerk if it was a or a charter office, but it's not
It's
really a
not.
charter office.
it's
In our charter, so
Yeah.
the city attorney would be that other person that operates independently and it's kind of outside of the chain of command.
that's
So
like
I agree,
down in Tarpon,
Mhm.
the clerk there answers only to the commission and
Right.
not to Charles, the
Which
city
is,
manager,
and that's how
which happens in a
other
lot
cities
of,
are,
yeah.
Mayor, I have a couple questions.
Uh-huh.
So for this, 2.03 policy, is this something, has Don Holmes reviewed this?
So both of the documents have been sent over for review, for our attorney to review. And I have not received back his recommendations, from that review. I'm waiting that, at this time.
So he's,
Why we can't take action on it
Correct.
until such time.
Yeah.
okay, well, that's what I was asking. And then there was something that I particularly noted and made a note of, and now I am trying to find what my note is. Somewhere in here, it talks about going to the mayor. Does anyone happen to know where that is, that the mayor would be the person to?
That is,
Oh.
if it has some.
What, okay, here it is, well, and this, okay, one request.
What are you on?
I'm on 2.11, a page that has a lot of red on it.
Uh-huh.
Okay, when you go, is the last full text paragraph that starts the grievance shall. Says the city manager who may call the mayor, but it says, what if, my note says, what if the complaint is against the mayor? Cause you always need a path, you would want to give an alternate, I'm assuming.
Or the attorney, or our city attorney.
Yeah, and
I think in any regard to this, you need to include the city attorney.
Yes, I will do that.
You know, or,
And I think that leaves even in lieu of the human resource person.
and I even
I think it
wrote,
should always go to.
I even wrote attorney there, so.
Okay,
Because
Okay,
the
well-
attorney is the only person in our charter that is not under the purview of the city manager.
Right.
And so that would give, like you were saying, the city clerk, you know, in some cities are charter offices.
Right.
Ours is not, without a change to the charter.
Right.
So currently the city attorney, so I think that really is the right path
okay,
on all of this, really, if someone has, you know, the normal grievance procedure that we have sent out, you know, and then if it's against the city, if it's with the city manager or with one of the elected officials, then it needs to go to the city attorney.
okay.
But wait a minute. Didn't Don say that he can't handle those things because he represents first and foremost the city as a whole? I mean, he declined to be involved and refer things, I don't know, we're just
That was
gonna
an
have to wait.
investigation,
Yeah,
that
it was
was,
during that
that
time.
was with us sending out an investigation. I think initially he was the one that was contacted.
Mhm.
Okay.
I was contacted second on that,
Mhm.
but he was contacted, I believe he was contacted.
I believe
So I
so.
think we need to ask him. if that-
And again, this
I mean,
is,
he was the one that-
this is on his plate right now.
Right.
I will
Okay.
get with him and find out what the best options are for us.
But I like the direction this has gone in, but, you know, it has the few little tweaks needed, but yeah, I think that the city attorney, I mean, to me, if you go to the human resources person and share your grievance, or fill out the grievance form, and she might not, or he or she might not have the wherewithal to really, I don't know, I just feel like the city attorney would be able to take action more so than the human resources.
Or at least direct how the
Right,
action
yeah,
is to be taken.
I still like the human resource aspect because it is human resource and having that capability to track and file in
Mhm.
people's, file. When it is, or would be against either myself or the commission, that is a difference.
Right.
Because there is no
We're not,
file
I'm
for
not
you all.
taking that out, I think still she
Yeah.
would be the first one.
First building.
And then,
But once it ramps up and it's against you or it's against us or a board member. You know,
Board member.
we have
hadn't even-
board members, I
hadn't even put
included
that in
board
here.
members in here.
That's a great
I've
idea.
included board members in here,
Okay.
because that can happen as well,
I'll do that.
that you take them out of the equation.
So, Mayor, 2 questions. Okay, so number one, I think when Blackco recently had complaints made against the city manager, I think Human Resources handled that there for Blackco. I'm just sharing that.
Yeah.
And it seemed to get handled. And, well, that's an observation, not a question. But my question is, does our insurance company, does FMIT have any training or guidance for us on this? Do they have any policies to share with us?
I am sure they do. But I don't have that answer because I just don't, I have not reached out to them, but I will make a note of it now to do that.
Because
might be good.
aren't they supposed to do, this came up when we had the proposals? I think they're supposed to do an analysis or look at your risk or answer. They're supposed to advise us about something.
And that might be a legal issue that they're not gonna talk to you anyway, they're only gonna talk to our attorney. So you can start with them and
Get the
see that
conversation.
because of that, the legalities of that. I know anytime I call, even as the mayor,
Yeah,
they tell me they only speak to the attorney to attorney,
Right,
not FMIT.
what I was saying is they seem to indicate that they would look at your policies or do a review for you.
Okay.
And as not asking them about a specific question, but do they have recommendations
Oh,
for
I have it written down already. I will.
types of policies? And then other than that, and this will probably change, the same page I was on where I had the question about having an alternate to go to if the complaint was against, the mayor. I think up, the very first full paragraph on that page that's in red, the third sentence, there's an incomplete sentence, it looks like, because either there's a period and then there's a capital T. I just circled that.
I think there's a comma and a capital T where it should be a lowercase
Something,
t.
Yeah, it
or
is.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
it's,
that's common.
it has the comma and
Okay.
the T needs
So
to
then-
be.
Okay, but, so anyway, so we're waiting on our city attorney.
Yes, we are.
Oh, I'm not the best at punctuation, but I can see
Neither am I.
letters
It's
not like
interesting
you.
with your eyesight, you're able to even see that, but it is a comma.
Mhm.
Because it looks like, at first you're like, because when I was reading that.
You can zoom in like,
I can see the capital.
So this is just, so right now, both of these, we can't take we're not gonna take action on them.
No.
This is for us to go through and review. Mr. Martin has mentioned that we've got some options, so commission, I don't know how you want to do this.
I think the best thing would be, first of all, for you to consult with Don and then rewrite this for the attorney, and the attorney as that person that is contacted, and then give us another copy of it.
Okay,
She has a lot of rewriting on her, you might want to see hers, but, you know,
I will be.
I made some notes based on this file, so,
Needless to say, I want mine in teal.
I used to always use green writing when I looked at the newspaper, because then they knew it was me that corrected it.
Mayor, if I could, at this stage, when we're looking at a draft policy, I don't think we can send all our ideas or corrections into the city manager at this point.
I had that discussion with him earlier, and I don't think that that's probably wise for us to do that either.
Right. Because he might incorporate some
He
and not
might
others.
incorporate and not others, and when he and I talked about that, and I said the same thing, kind of like with our minutes. We shouldn't go in and make changes until we know the whole commission has decided that. And so the same, yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
Consult Don and rewrite that part of that, and then give it to us again.
Yes,
And if we need to workshop it, have a workshop before a meeting or whatever we need to do.
do you want me to disseminate that through an email once Don gives his blessing on it or his?
You can send us out the revised,
Right,
that's all you would do is send us out the revised.
Okay, okay.
Because
And
I think a lot of the things that we might have right now would change if you're gonna change part of, change the focus of it. So I think you need to get Don's feedback first and then give us something.
Okay.
Because we might suggest things that are not gonna be
Kosher.
copacetic with, but just give something that he's cleared and rewrite and then give it to us again.
Yes, sir.
and
I think, that's my feeling.
Derek also for some direction, it's what does he bring to us? Because I know he's concerned about giving us way too much information to have to compute. But at the same time, this is something that involves us, so this would not be an internal policy decision.
Correct.
It's a decision that
This is-
would come to us.
Correct.
And so if you ever had that question, or if you've got to change something internally, if you have that question, you can always ask us, not that we have to give our blessings
Yes, ma'am.
on what you're doing internally sometimes.
Yes, ma'am.
Sometimes.
Yes, sir. I definitely don't want to
This
overwhelm
does
you
affect- this
with
is
extra work
overall,
either.
yes.
And it's copacetic because of.
Yes.
Okay, but wait, I have another procedural question here. So is this, it says 2.3 policy prohibiting harassment. So is this taken out of our existing administrative policies and procedures?
Yes, 100%. Actually,
Okay.
both of these, the basis of both of these
Yeah.
are.
Well, and then I particularly have questions about the city commission reference guide. But I mean, essentially, it's my understanding our policies and procedures have not been updated since 2014. We started it, this was before Commissioner Moore was here. But we have to approve those, I believe, by a 4/5 vote.
For the, for our policies and procedures,
It's in the charter,
4/5 vote
I think so.
and not a majority, so it's a
I don't
supermajority.
know, but, well, number one, for sure, if it's a policy and procedure, then it can't, if it's an official policy and procedure, apparently it can't be changed without approval of the commission.
Right.
And then I would have to look again, I looked at it, I think it said four-fifths vote, but I can't swear to it.
Yeah, I was,
Yeah, we'll have to look at that
I
and
didn't
see,
see
because that's asking for,
that's super majority. and
that's
there's
a
only-
lot.
Yeah,
Okay, well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but for sure,
it would be.
those are supposed to come before the commission.
Right, but this is still drafting, and then we're
Right.
gonna get to a final.
And I think what they have found is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Derek, is that to take this as a whole, it is a lot to, and so they're going to go through it and bring it to us in pieces.
Yes.
And then compile the entire policy and procedure as an updated document, is that correct?
Yes, that is 100% correct. There is a lot of chapters, a lot of it. It's just that,
Yeah, we're aware.
yes.
We had a workshop, but Mayor, I have a request about preparation of documents. I was looking at the minutes in Interlochen, and this would apply to any document, particularly, the analysis that we had today of the potential fire station locations. When you're doing a document, it helps so much if you can have in the footer, the name of the document, the date of the document, and the page numbers. Because if you have something with no page numbers,
And
it's
it's
hard.
over.
We don't know when it was last updated.
Right.
So, yeah.
But I'm just saying,
Or the
like, whether,
draft in the timeline.
Most, if not all, if you look at most of my documents, I do that. I actually put a file on there. Sometimes it gets a little funky, but I try to do that. This particular document, this was copied out of a larger PDF, so I just took pages, and there wouldn't be page numbers on there until we marry everything together. But I agree 100%. We
just
will
saying in
Yeah.
general,
Well, and
because,
having the file name helps, because.
Yeah.
When someone needs to look for later, if it's not you.
Yes.
It helps a lot.
Files very important.
Happen on there.
Yes.
well, and for those of us who have paper, I mean, if you drop it on the floor, you're lost. If you're just scrolling through online, you can't really tell anyone
Right on the page, yeah. No,
what
that's
page you're
true.
looking at. So, I mean, going, it's work in progress.
But it is a good habit, I believe. Yes.
And another thing, just for the record, and I've mentioned this to Derek, is that I've asked him for he and his staff, and I think as we go forward, that's something that we need to require of any city manager as they come in, that they go through ethics training.
Yes.
So they have a full understanding what we have to go through, so I asked.
Well, it applies to them.
It applies to
Yes,
them,
it
that's what I said to him, it
does.
applies to them and it applies to their staff, his staff too. So I asked him to find 4 hours, that he and his staff can sit here and go through it, it gives you an hour and a half for lunch.
Yeah.
Um,
And Randy Mora is the one that usually does it for the FLC, and it's actually, he's very dynamic speaking, and every year, even though it's the same guy, and I do the quarterly ethics
Yeah.
things, and he keeps it interesting.
Yeah.
He
Can we
really
do
does.
it in a group
Yeah,
setting?
yeah, oh yeah,
Okay.
you can do it right up there.
Because it's a webinar,
It's a webinar.
they don't see you, you just see him and listen to him. And honestly, it's some of the most boring stuff in the world, but yet it is really important. And there's a lot of it that's very tricky, and a lot of it that, you can very easily step awry of that, and you need to know these things.
Yes.
Because not just us, we're required by law to do it once a year, but it applies to you, it applies to everyone.
And I think that in that way, you also know what we have to fall under, the guidelines we have to fall
Right.
under, like,
So when we're, make sure that you're not inadvertently helping us step out of the line, without understanding it.
and I just, in going through the ethics training, one of the things that it was a reminder for me, and I think it's a reminder for all of us as a commission, and now it's fixed, but I went almost a month without being able to have access to my email, and it was being hacked, and it was being sent, it was sending out, so I'm now back on, but in the meantime, anything he sent, he had to send it to my personal email. In turn, I've got to make sure that the clerk has that, so anything we do from our personal computers,
I think that's,
we need to make sure if it's city related, that we provide a copy of that to, and I think it's just getting into a habit of just automatically copying the clerk when you send something out that's city related, because she is supposed to have that as a record keeper.
I believe this is what Commissioner DeVito does, and what I think is a good policy or practice is, if anybody contacts you by your personal email, I CC or send it to my city email, and that way it's in there as the records can be searched. Because CCing the clerk on everything, I don't want to bombard.
Right, I'm just talking about from your personal.
Yeah. But that's what I
Maybe
do, is
with
I
the
just
person.
copy, and if someone emails me, I forward it to my work one, and then I'll respond from that. Because I try and and I know Commissioner DeVito and I both are on some, with that PHS and stuff, we're on the same, we email each other, but sometimes, I'm like, oh, she's using her personal email, I'm using my personal email, and we're not talking about city stuff, but like Danny Miller will send me something about something that's city related, and I'm like, please, Danny, send me an email at Crescent City, but I'll forward it and then respond to him from that. So I know you do the same, in fact, you're the one who told me, and it was one of those things, that Randy Moore has covered.
Mayor, that when you're locked out of your email, it's a different situation because you have no way of verifying, like if you copy your city email, you can't see that it gets there or where it goes. However, I don't know where I read this, but it was something to do with, it was either part of an ethics training, I don't know where I read it, but it was the procedure that another city was following. Maybe I looked at it online. If we have access to our city email, I don't think it's necessary if we use our personal email to copy the clerk unless it's some special something. I just copy my personal email because then it's in there as a communication. In other words,
So you send it to, so if you do something, you send it to your personal your city email.
Correct, and that
Well,
archives.
that would archive.
Right, that
yes,
archives
but just make sure that we've archived. My
Yes.
situation, I was saying,
Right,
is
that's
I need
different.
to provide it to her because, and if you're ever in that situation, make sure you provide it to the clerk.
Because you can't see.
And that goes with Facebook too.
Right.
Everything on Facebook too, yeah.
Right, well, that's a whole nother thing, but, I use my Gmail sometimes because, I don't know what it is, Outlook doesn't perform as well for me, and sometimes I will write something and it will disappear, which is, of course, very frustrating when it happens at the very end. It's just easier for me to use Gmail, so I just copy it to my city email. And that's very helpful, or as Commissioner always said,
Have you looked in your drafts? Because Outlook will never delete an email.
It goes to
If it
your
closes, it'll go into your drafts. It's just like Gmail in the same way, because
It doesn't-
Gmail won't lose stuff.
it just goes bye-bye, and it's not my drafts.
Okay.
So anyway, but regardless, or if someone sends you something, you can just flip it. Okay, but anyway.
If I may, Mayor, so I just looked up on our charter, and it's section 3.07 on the administrative code, that the city manager shall propose to the city commission, shall amend and adopt by a vote of 4/5 of full commission administrative code, which shall set forth the department organization for the city commission, including charts shown, chain of command, allocation, responsibility, duties, definitions, nature, scope of each department, and all required rules and procedures for administrating said departments. It's nothing specific on policy, but it still sounds like it is a policy.
I think that.
It sounds like it, but I didn't see anything specific
That's
to
Dawn.
I will, I'll talk to her.
That's
I don't mind
on the structure.
I don't mind bringing it to you all. I wanna do the right thing, but I'm definitely not gonna flood you all with that much.
I think we're supposed to approve it because that's why we started
Ultimately,
revising it.
we would have to, and that's why I
Yeah.
said, but if he's doing something that's not outside the policy and procedures, if he's,
Right.
If
We're
you're
not
telling everybody that, your lunch hour, this is when I want you to take your lunch hour, you don't have to bring that to us, just don't close the building without telling us.
Correct.
Okay.
We went through that.
Yeah, we went through that, so.
Okay.
Okay, do we have anything else, because we're all gonna be together again on Thursday?
Okay, so we have this whole city commission reference guide thing.
Well, and I believe this is
That's-
just your very first pass at this.
This is,
I mean, I know you've been working on it, and a lot of it you adopted from other cities.
correct.
So I know that's why some of the stuff is not accurate. I went through and made quite a few notes, a lot of blue highlighter.
I'm not sure we wanna do this in a.
I don't wanna spend the time right now.
Okay,
I have a couple of comments, but just hitting the high points. Number one, to me, this is neither fish nor fowl. It's not really a city commission reference guide. Part of it seems to be changing our policies and procedures. What I think, and this is my perspective, other commissioners may find, may have a different point of view, but to me, for a reference guide, particularly for a new commissioner, I think that it's too long. And to me, I would hit the high points, and just provide links or copies of the documents. It's just, I don't think you need to have 50 pages. Some of it's very narrative. And then I'm not really sure what's going on here. Some of it is contradictory. One portion says you get your ethics form from the supervisor of election,
It
and
just
one.
needs to be updated because.
Well, right, but then the next page says it's online with the Commission on Ethics.
That's
Which it is
That's a new thing.
But
That started 2 years ago.
right, but I'm just saying, there's way too much in here. You may as well just look, like, instead of describing the charter, just provide the charter. The charter's not that long.
Right.
That would be helpful. I think from talking to others that a lot of what's in here, the onboarding is done by the city attorney, particularly for things like the public records law. And one concern I have, this is at the very end. This talks about, 5.9 benefits. What is it? It's the pay, compensation, page 57. This one talks about compensation and the issue that we talked about at the December meeting. The change, apparently the change to our code at section 2-22 compensation, where it lays out the monthly salary, and then paragraph C says that we're entitled to health insurance.
And that's what our current code says.
That's what our current code
Okay,
says.
then how did it get that way? Because BJ, you.
That has always, the only thing that changed was the numbers that were there.
Right.
Ordinance, there's an ordinance.
The ordinance that was originally passed, just had different numbers.
And
Okay,
And in that-
500, but the clause about health insurance has always been part of it since 1999.
And now there is,
And so we did verify that the commissioners can be covered under our insurance. That you all are full-time, if you will, employees by their guys. This will be up at a different meeting, but just because we're all here talking, I'm gonna be looking at the people who have coverages, reimbursing for said coverages, just like we do some of the others, that are on Medicare. Yes, correct. And with that being said, going back to this guide, if you will, the premise of this guide was really thinking about one of our new commissioners, just like Commissioner Moore, how it would help her find information, give definitions. It can be anything that we want it to be. The bones of this is right out of Gainesville, city of Gainesville. That's a lot longer than the one that we have right there. I took the pieces out that I thought were most important. But again, that's why it's in big bold letters draft. This is ours to create and for future generations of commissioners coming in. And it's really just a helpful guide. We have our charter, our policy, those reference those. There will be mistakes in there because it's a first stab at something that's gonna take a lot longer than the time that we've put in it so far.
Like, we don't have executive assistants and we don't have parking passes all the
Correct.
time. That just-
No.
But, you know, and I know Commissioner DeVito might think that a lot of this stuff we know because we learned it in email, or in email too, but when you're elected and you are initiated, you don't need to go to email that next day.
all of a sudden, you're
This-
sitting here and you have to make decisions and
And
you're
I
like,
mean,
whoa.
and as Commissioner Moore, well, some of this came from the email book, even the directory, and some of it needs to be updated too, because it is old. But some of it also comes with that municipal officers handbook that they gave us from the,
Yeah.
FLC, and they just put out the newer one, the updated version. Some of it's all in there, but this is I think it's honestly perfect. It's something that we have needed for a long time. I know when I was first sworn in 2003, that I was given a copy of the ordinances and the little stupid little black binders that Unicode gives you. And of course, that was last updated in 2000, and even then, it was really outdated, and it was tiny and hard to read. And we don't need to do that anymore, because the Unicon's online. I mean, there's some links that need to be updated and some stuff, but
Yes.
I mean, I think this is a step in, I mean, it's a very small audience this is ever gonna be used for, just people that are elected. There's 5 of us here, it's 5 positions, you know,
And it's every 2 years, possibly.
Yeah.
yeah, and so, but I really do think that it will give, and some of it is repetitious, but you know what, repetition is how you learn things.
Yeah.
But I do agree, it needs to make sense, it needs to not contradict itself.
Sometimes it can be a refresher for us.
Oh, yeah,
too.
no, I mean, I read through it and I enjoyed it quite a bit, and there's some stuff that just needs to be tweaked.
Yes.
Could I just clarify something? Because Commissioner Lori said what he thinks, I think. That's completely not true. I looked at this, I don't think that this is what a new commissioner needs, and I don't think that people get to go to emo the next day, because I
didn't
know
say
they
that.
don't.
I don't
You
know.
did, you said, well, I probably think they
No,
don't.
I said that this gives them
No,
the
okay.
information they need before they get to go, or at least that's what I meant to say.
What I'm trying to say is, I looked at this from the perspective of someone who is new, and I looked at what I got. And I think in some ways, I think 50 pages is too long, and there are still things in here that I think are very important to know, like the responsibilities that are assigned to the commissioners. There's nothing in here about check signing. There's nothing in here about the CRA, and the fact that we're the CRA board.
Okay, I think before we get in the weeds on this,
It's
he
not the
gave this to us, I know he gave this to us as a draft, and I think we've already determined that to take this on in a regular meeting is just,
Yeah,
that we don't have that.
we can workshop that.
I have to say, you're not gonna sit down as a new commissioner reading the whole thing, but having that at your fingertips, even if it includes the well, no, not that, but Commissioner Vito was saying she didn't think it needed to include, they put the links in there and not include the documents. Sometimes that's so much easier if you have it there than to have to go and link it back and forth. But I do think that as we go forward, this is a step in the right direction, and we can improve this, and we all
I
have,
think it's a good first.
all 5 of us can bring to this document what we feel like we as a new commissioner needed, and it was beneficial to us.
I think they're the only people that.
Yeah, and it's a reference, and we really are, you're right, Commissioner Lori, we're the only ones that really can address that. I mean, even as a mayor, when there was no mayor document that was given to me as a mayor, and all of a sudden I'm having to share a
They
meeting.
have something, and like you said, you got this from Gainesville. A lot of larger cities do this, or a lot of small cities do this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like doing a citizens academy. You know, if you do a citizens academy, then usually they require the new commissioners, once they're elected, to go through the citizens academy if they have it, because it gives you an introduction to city government. And we haven't got to the point where we're doing a citizens academy, but I still think it would be a good idea sometime. Because it just, I did Orange County Citizens Academy when I was in college, and I learned more about government then than I did in my 4 years studying public administration. You got to see it in reality.
But we can definitely shorten it up. I know what you're saying. There are pages in there. There's an article that was written by a gentleman on ethics that has to do with Florida League of Cities, and it's several pages. That's what they had in there. I just included it.
Well, hold on. There's some things that personally I think Dawn needs to review or whatever. There's something in here, speaking of the ethics training we just took, that is flat out wrong about how to handle a public records request. I think it's just flat out wrong. I would not want someone to use that as guidance. But the other thing that concerns me is, and we brought this up in the December meeting, how did the numbers, the salary numbers,
That's not
get changed in the code?
during the recodification.
Yes.
When Unicode was doing it, I sent a proof to Charles Rudd, and Charles Rudd went through with all the different footnotes. I can give you a copy of it because I have a copy of it. He gave it to me to proof, and then 2 days later said, hey, how did you do on that? I'm like, you gave this to me 2 days ago, it's 396 pages. So, and partially my fault, I didn't get to read those 2 days, but I just been elected, so I don't know. But, you know, they had been working on it for so long, and Unicode made everything copacetic, made everything updated to state law, but there was always footnotes with questions Does this still apply, or are these the current rates, blah, blah. Because what had happened was the $400, and then the mayor gets $500 was what the salary was set for. And then the reason why we get paid $728 was, and I can just tell you this from my experience from being in office in 2003, is I was told that was the insurance, in lieu of insurance. So
Back in '03,
back in '03, that's
that's
what,
what it was.
but that's really the same amount now. And
No,
so,
it's not.
no, but I'm saying that's what this
Oh,
is
yeah,
using,
it's
is
the
that
same
same amount,
amount, yeah.
which
Okay,
is,
but this is what I'm trying to get to, because I asked Don this directly in the meeting. Okay, Charles can't just,
but he
Change.
did not do it intentionally, he believed that those were
Sorry,
the right
okay.
numbers.
but he can't do that. What happened is something that the commission did or said was missing, and they didn't go back and find that.
But
No,
there's an ordinance, if there's not
There's
an
an
ordinance that speaks to it,
it was passed in '99.
then it's that, if that ordinance stands.
Right, and he can't just write in a different number.
So what was the number before?
400 and 500.
Right.
So the
and
commission
Don
is
is
supposed to go back to that number?
Don is supposed to tell us what.
Is that what the
Is that what
commission?
you want? Do you wanna go back to that number?
I'm not saying I want anything, I'm saying you need to find out what transpired. What I am told is, and I don't think it's true, that if there's not an ordinance, because they also included in here resolutions, the commission took an action to change the pay amount. And we think that we need to find what that action was and when it was. We have retired commissioners who may well remember. Did you not serve with Judy West?
Yes.
Okay, but you can't just, if you can't find the ordinance or the action, you can't just write it in and then
And
pay ourselves
I-
insurance on top of that.
But I understand that, but the fact is, we need to, how do we move forward? Is what I wanna know, because this is our adopted code. This is our approved and adopted code, because we passed an ordinance implementing this as our code and repealing all ordinances before.
Right.
That was what we passed.
Yes, and it was represented to us
That
that it was
But then there's a
correct.
mistake, there was humans, and, Charles is a human, and he made a mistake.
But
So we
Charles,
need to, and it was not intentional,
I don't care
and
what
Charles was
but
doing,
wait a second, that salary, those numbers are the same numbers before Charles.
right,
Those numbers didn't change. Charles didn't change those numbers. That he just,
yeah, I didn't come up with the numbers, but it
those
was
are the
everything
numbers
there.
that we've had and you've had
Right,
Yes,
probably as long as you've been here, right?
right, but it is, from what BJ is saying, the numbers were the salary plus
the insurance differential,
the insurance differential.
and that's where it's been stayed for all this time, which that would not be correct, because if we were to be covered by the city's insurance now, or get paid a payment in lieu of that, that would be very different numbers.
That's very different numbers.
Right. And so, somewhere along the line, no one ever changed that, which, imagine that, we've had that happen in a lot of things. But the fact is, we need to update this, and we need to find out the way forward, and I don't know. Because there's also the added disadvantage that our charter says that we can't change our compensation or pass an ordinance to change our compensation, until the next election. Or it won't take effect until the next election, but it has to be 90 days before it. So that's why Don needs to tell us what we should do. I mean, obviously, it was not it was not.
And Derek, there's also my understanding is there's some legislation. I'm very interested in this.
Right, well, I understand, I'm very interested too, because
Yeah,
it
we all are, we all
It could
should
actually
be,
really
and,
affect the
you know,
neighborhood.
especially, y'all are having to pay Medicare supplements or
Yeah.
Medicare.
Yeah.
But, there's also legislation, is my understanding. Are you familiar with the legislation?
I have read on some of it, but I'm not familiar 100%
Okay,
with what they have coming up.
okay. It's not coming up, I think it's already
It's already passed.
It's already passed, that was my understanding, and that was our insurance agent providing HR with that.
Oh, yes, you're talking about for the recent request that we just made with our insurance company?
Yes.
Yeah, so there was some recent legislation that had to do with the hours worked, and that's what allows the commission to be able to get insurance through the city. Before, they wouldn't do it because they didn't count you as employees that were full-time. Now those hours have shifted and changed, so they do say that you are full-time and can receive those services. What we're gonna look at, which I need to find out the history, I've been told that there was a stipend that was voted on a while ago, that there's a stipend that was given.
That would be the amount on top.
Correct, and that's where the delta is between the two. So I'm gonna get the information together, all of it, all the history, I'm gonna bring it back to you all. We can make a decision how to move forward in that process. In the interim though, if you are eligible or if you need the insurance, you're eligible. We have to find out how to get you in the door, if that's the case, because of the cutoff times, to enroll. And we'll figure that out. I'm getting all that together at this point in time right now.
I mean, you didn't do it while we were on holidays and everyone was closed. How dare you,
Yes,
Derek? I expected you to be working here 40 hours a
As
week.
you can tell, I was lost.
On Thursday, do you think you'll have some information on that?
I will, that is my goal is to have answer by Thursday.
But, like you said, a lot of this is a work in progress here. And I think that it would be very helpful when a new commissioner comes on board and say, hey, look, and this is what you get paid.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even know what I got paid until I got my first check, or got my first direct deposit.
And
And even then, I didn't realize what the components of, and of course, on our pay stubs, it just says $728. It does not say $400 salary and $20 for a stipend in lieu of insurance.
Right.
The only reason I knew that was what it was from serving before.
And I'm telling you too,
And that was never
as we look
Friday.
forward, as we go forward in getting people interested in, a lot of people look at, I know when I talk to people about, whether or not they have aspirations for being the mayor or to be the commissioner, I don't wanna, it's not worth what, if you have that bonus, that benefit,
Yes.
it would probably prompt maybe some younger people too,
Yes.
for stepping up and wanting to be in office. And I believe the county, for their commissioners, they're even part of the FRS.
Yes,
We don't have, that's not a benefit, and they pay for their insurance at that low level tier, at the
Yes.
first tier.
Right.
Anything over and above that, they have to
It's
pay.
Right.
But that's a benefit for
It is.
them.
It is.
And, and that's something that as we go forward too, I think that, you want people to want to serve their community and to make it worth it to them to come in here to serve. Because as we all know, it is,
It's a lot.
you are 24/7. You can't turn off being a commissioner.
Yeah,
You
you can't.
I get phone calls at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning.
And that's what we disclosed to the insurance companies.
If we just changed it,
We told the insurance companies that you all work over 40 hours a week. I mean, whether it's on the phone, computer, in-house, out in the public, you're
On call,
definitely on call. Yeah,
on call.
I've talked to each of you after 10 o'clock at night on different occasions for different reasons.
Not me, I'm asleep.
Yeah. But I have talked to you after hours.
Okay, I've got to
Thank you.
I have to get a document out, I think, by 5 o'clock, so.
Steve's waiting on you?
Yeah, okay, so if
Okay.
we have anything else, if not.
I just want to say, Derek, this is a great step in the right direction. I think this will be incredibly valuable. We know that it's going to take some more work.
Sure.
But thank you for tackling this, because obviously this is a lot to take on and something that's out of the realm of day-to-day stuff. So you're doing that, and you're doing some good stuff in that, and I appreciate it.
And
So,
just work
yes,
with
sir.
Dawn.
Yes, ma'am.
Make
I
sure
will.
Dawn, that's very important.
I will.
And you have, he's got Leo too, so
He does. He does.
anyway.
Leo,
What's the name?
our young attorney.
I
Yeah.
was like, is that a disease?
Not that Don's not young, not saying that.
Yeah.
No, I'm
he's
just
not.
saying though, that to share that
He's not
burden.
young, he's
I'm not
working.
saying that, I'm saying to share that burden, the wisdom
Yes.
Dawn has
He's got-
forgotten more than
Yes.
most people have,
Yes, correct.
thankfully, to our benefit.
That's
So
right.
with that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you Thursday.
You gonna eat that?
Yeah, I
one?
think
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
Keep in my mouth, it'd be easier. Then some, yeah, here, just, no, you don't have to.
You're there.
Very much. Just,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Oh.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Huh?
Who
Oh,
does
that. You won that now. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thing ever.
This is still recording on the good? You'll get on that? Okay. And you'll just be able to, we'll give that over
although I think it's a good thing.
Disseminate that
Um,
properly.
oh, yeah, but
I
Still
just,
got-
yeah, it's challenging.
thank you, Pam. I did publicly
Yes,
thank
thank
you.
you, Pam.
Thank you, Pam.
And thank you, Mayor, for the alcohol.
You're welcome. Let me run over to,
Yeah, we're good as well.
So
let me go, I'll be back.
Okay, BJ, do you need anything? Do you need your mic turned on?
Mhm. Did you guys turn the mics off?
Your
She's gonna be coming over to.
tethered and then are there,
Yes.
you have your cup
Yeah, it
thing
was
in
a,
the
it was
back.
a great.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah. She's like-
a cup holder.
She's.
Oh, right,
And then.
you're saying you need it to.
Yeah, yeah, so I can put it in, just give it to me.
No, no,
It's right here.
no. You always just ask someone to do it.
Well, no, that's,
Push back a little bit. You don't have enough room. Push back. Thank you.
and somehow the mayor always gets it, there's like a little groove in the middle of that thing, and she gets it on there, and gets it stuck. So I'm like, I don't know how she does that, she does it every time, but no, that's perfect.
That's right.
Yeah, it should just be able to pop off, you know. If I get this caramel off, I'm.
I was gonna say, you made a mess.
Oh, yeah, those are all already on.
Throw those away, but
Yeah, yeah,
do you
yeah.
need your mouth wiped?
Well, yeah, I got it, here.
You got it? Okay.
I need it off my hand.
Oh, how about this? You want me to put some water on it?
No, I think.
Because it's caramel.
Yeah, it's okay.
Doesn't need
It's-
water.
It tastes good.